Yo, yo, yo. Tuesday night. Where else would you be? The Dynasty Daddy live trade show. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I just started watching the Netflix Quarterbacks season 2
Hmm.
with our guys Kirk Cousins, QB1 next year. Um, and then you also got Burrow and Goff. And who's the other one? There's one more, but there's one more. But that's really getting me like jazzed for the whole season because it'll be a random game I forgot about, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember.
Hmm.
I remember when the Bengals almost beat the Chiefs, and then there was a pass interference, and the Chiefs got a walk-off field goal. I was like, oh, I forgot about all that. So I'm excited to actually like it's starting to come back. You can start to taste it.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we're in Hall of Fame game month. I keep saying technically we have NFL football this month, but yeah, usually Hard Knocks is my initiation into football season is here.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean, we're Dynasty Degens. Football season's always here. So let's let the intro play and let's get into it. Big Diaz in the chat. Saw you had a live stream ask, I believe. We'll get to that later. B Turts McGee, how we doing tonight? Ready for some Dynasty talk? Always ready. Hey, Goat's excited. Wow. Over Love Island. Do you do any of the Love Island watching? I've been told what the show looks like, and I do not understand it, and I don't think I ever will. But I can appreciate being into something as a Dynasty degenerate.
It has been one of the rules that we have in the household is during the football season, I want to watch the Monday night, I want to watch the Thursday night, I want to watch the random afternoon
The
game if
Black
they ever
Friday
have those.
game.
Yeah, the Black Friday game. So after that, I'm like, hey, like you get the TV, and we have been watching Love Island, and I'll tell you, I don't know if there's any job harder than being a producer on that show because they pump out like an hour plus like like episode every single day, and it's literally like 60 episodes in a row. It's just nonstop every single night a new episode. I just can't imagine what it's like to be in the production room and just having to turn that around. So big kudos to those people.
Yeah, that's yeah. I think the Love Island talk, the insanity every day besides Wednesday.
Austin's in on it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is insanity.
I've got a true crime wife, so she has not ventured out into the obscure reality TV. Thanks for the sub, got the tracker going up. And how about, I told myself I'd do this. How about liking the stream, guys? I just remembered. So usually I see a message that comes in like an hour and a half into the stream. Let's hit the like on that puppy.
That's the Chanel comment.
Oh yeah,
But
live
yeah,
voting is amazing. Jeez, Dynasty Island type shiz. Jeez. But all right, enough reality TV show. Let's talk about some fake football.
rankings.
Right. We've got one here. I know it was I want to get to these that were posted in the actual YouTube community post here. I think we've got this one here. Actually, this one was before Will had the ability to pull up the chat messages. Shout out to Frankie ate the chocolate responding to the call when Jeremy writes in the chat, here early, drop your trades below. Will did not have the overlay ready, but I have this ready. Frankie ate the chocolate. What moves should I make with this team? So we don't have the format. Let's assume, I'm assuming Superflex with the QB room.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do like a 12 by 10 Superflex, 0.5 tight end premium, just like super basic. Caleb Williams, Dak Prescott, Spencer Riley, Will Levis. Running backs are Caleb Johnson, James Cook, James Conner, Tony Pollard, Braylon, Rashad White, Trevor Etienne. Wide receivers are Neighbors, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Godwin, Shaheed, Coker. I'll stop there. Tight ends are Brock Bowers and Jake Ferguson. So just the general, what should I do with this team? I mean, from a competing standpoint, I mean, I like the quarterback room. I don't get as nervous about not having a starting third quarterback as most people. Running backs, there's some projection with Caleb Johnson, but I think the room is totally fine competing running back room. You've got 4-point scorers for sure. And then, other than, potentially slow start Godwin, I'm fine with the wide receiver room and the tight ends. I don't know if there's any like specific positions you would want to attack with this kind of team. I think this is pretty. There anything that jumped off the page to you when you were reading this off?
I will say, I mean, are we at a point where we put Torrey Horton over Amari Cooper? Is that the reality we
Hey,
have now?
he's on an NFL team. I think that's the distinction.
That is true. That is true. I mean, to be honest, yeah. I mean, I think you covered it pretty well. I mean, you plug this team into Dynasty Daddy, and it's like, hey, this is probably a contender unless the league is crazy. Um, like I think to me, what I would be looking at is like, how's my draft capital in this situation, and how will it look week 8, right? Because what if Caleb Johnson is more of a RB2 to Jalen Warren, and you're like, okay, I can't rely on him a ton. Okay, well, you still have Cook and Connor and Pollard. You still have other options, but it really comes down to like, hey, how's your draft capital in this situation? Because the talent on paper right now looks good. You need to be able to have the flexibility mid-season, later on, to actually adjust when you hit certain turbulent waters and you don't know what it will be. But I mean, on paper, I think it looks really, really solid from top to bottom. Especially having like Neighbors, AJ Brown, Brock Bowers, of course, and then you also have some of those like lower end value plays of like Rashad White, Amari Cooper if he finds a team. Like those are players right now that are, especially Amari Cooper, that are basically free, but could totally have some sort of role on a contending team. So I'm fine having those types of guys. But maybe there's options of like, oh, I don't have first round picks. Okay, maybe moving like a Caleb Williams or tearing down off of AJ Brown or something like that, and trying to extract some of those future firsts is honestly the only thing I'd really try to do. Unless if someone's just like, yo, I have to get rid of Jamar Chase, and then you're like, okay, well, then maybe you try to tier up. But without more additional format information, that I think this team is pretty solid.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think the only thing I'll say to kind of add on to that is these kind of contending teams. Like I've had some of these where like I wasn't super strong picks just because I've used them to like build out the contending team that I have like a 3-4 window that I feel comfortable with. I'm willing to move off of, like I just traded Devontae Adams on a contending team, which feels backwards, right? You kind of feel like that's a great contending piece. And I've said that. I think Devontae Adams is a great buy if you can get him cheap enough. But it was just based off the rest of my roster was strong enough where I was totally fine tearing down to get a first round pick back in that move, just to give me that flexibility that we always yap about. So we'll
and too, like I think if you have a plethora of riches, if you have Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers and all these players that are kind of contending players, and totally all in the same tier, but all contending type pieces, you don't need all of them. Right. And that's why it's like, like I love Aaron Jones, but I don't want every player to be an Aaron Jones type on my roster. But if I'm a contender and have a bunch of those older guys and I can flip the, Devontae Adams for a first, it probably makes sense for me to do that because I have multiple other players that slot into that exact type of role of a 1 to 2 year bet, older, not much flexibility as an asset. So if that's the case, then I would certainly look to move a player like that. It's kind of all team dependent.
Yeah, for sure. Next one here from Ray Rue. While I pull up the next one, FAAB help. So we got a FAAB help question here. 12 team superflex, 0.5 PPR, no 10 premium start. 10 shallow rookie draft. So Fannin, Harrison Bryant, DJ Giddens, Anangai, Richard, Ali G, and basically every 4th round plus player on waivers. How much should I be bidding? Oh, okay, so these are the waiver is what I'm understanding.
Waiver options.
Okay, these are the waiver options. How much should I be bidding? And we'll just do percentage wise since we don't have like the out of 100. I'd mean shallow rookie draft. I mean, a lot of this stuff is a little bit based off of, if you're able to add a couple of these guys for free versus having to drop like backup quarterbacks and stuff. That's something I've struggled with a little bit, as I do like building on my rosters, having a ton of like the Malik Willises of the world and Jake Brownings that, instances where they get the start for a couple weeks at a time, they're worth, 3rd round picks straight up. I mean, in order of, I think no tight end premium makes the like excitement of like Fannin. Go ahead. You can stop me from
I was
my
about to
Harold
say,
talk.
like there seems to be a lot of players. You mentioned it's a shallow rookie draft, so I don't know how many roster spots you have. Like, what's stopping you from just putting a $0 bid on like every rookie running back, and then just picking up whichever one people don't bid on?
Yeah, I'm prioritizing the running backs for sure.
Because like I think like Ollie G, I haven't seen it said like that, but like that Rashad, Giddens, Manungai, closer. And then like I imagine you got some 4th-round players. Like there's probably like the Woody Marks, Woody's Roundup. Got to give it a shout out. I mean, there's probably a bunch of guys like that out there, and it's like just say, okay, I'm just gonna waiver wire priority all of them as 0. That way, I'm not dropping like 5% on get-ins when I could get Rashad Smith for free. Because at the end of the day, they're all pretty much the same bet. Like I have some that I might personally favor. Like I'm like, oh, I think Ollie Gordon kind of complements that backfield differently than every other weapon they have. So I could see him having some run. I think Giddens is also kind of interesting, but ultimately, it's a crapshoot of if they actually will show up.
Yeah,
a lot of running back is just having the opportunity to play. It's not like I can go out there and earn the targets. So
I know.
To me, I would just try to pick them all up.
Yeah, I don't know. Did I say Harrison Bryant? If that's Pat Bryant, yeah, I like the order. I mean, I definitely would prioritize. Bryant, right? I'd probably. I mean, I don't want to say I'm a Pat Bryant guy, but for absolutely free off the waivers, I mean, I definitely want to go after these running backs. It'd probably be like Bryant, Giddens, Monangai Burchard, then Ali G. And then you can sprinkle in Fannin where you feel comfortable doing that. But depending on how shallow your bench is and if FAAB carries over, let us know, Ray Rue, if how shallow the bench is. Like, give us some of the drops that you'd be making if these aren't free ads. And I think we can
there's probably also like
sure.
Hunter or
empty
Woody
slots.
Martinez, Jordan James is probably out there.
Okay, no FAAB carryover is good to know. Because Browning.
Rudolph I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. Browning, Willis, like those are Will's favorite last picks in every startup draft are like the Malik Willis, Jake Brownings, and that's more of a me problem.
I do like both of them.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's what I needed.
Well, yeah. I mean, Brown. Not to like turn this into a Browning fan podcast.
I know we just talked about how quickly we want to get through the trade questions. we're doing an elaboration on Jake Browning's dynasty value, but go on.
But I just was like, when he played, not last year, but 2 years ago, I mean, he was putting up leveling QB1 numbers for free. And it's like, okay, cool. Like we've seen him do that. And we know that offense is high powered. They have to throw the ball. Even if he's not the best, he's still going to put up decent numbers. As a backup, he's probably one of the higher end backups. He's probably the highest I think of.
Yeah, I definitely do think, though, especially with FAAB not carrying over, I would totally be willing to kind of make a push for those running backs specifically and Bryant, just because, we talked about like FAAB up until the preseason and like little buzz news reports that can, push waiver wire fodder into you're able to get a third or a fourth for Deneric Prince. But I do think that those names are the ones that kind of carry that like initial buzz feeling. So you get the, whoa, is that, Rashard Smith on, third down with Patrick Mahomes in like the first series of the preseason? Like, okay, like I'll buy him for a third. So I definitely would prioritize Bryant and those running backs. I think probably FAAB not carrying over. I mean, it's a shallowish league.
I'm putting like $2 on everyone, and I just assume that not everyone is going to have, like, unless if it's really deep of a league. But if it's really shallow, I doubt anyone has like 5-6 roster spots. And then I just order them, and then whichever ones I don't get. Because I'd rather have FAAB when I need to pick up, the wide receiver, the running back that does actually get opportunities and is, kind of everyone's clamoring for him.
Yeah.
Than like a dart throw right now.
Yeah, I think like if this is like 10, 15%, I could see myself doing that. I think what I would kind of do like strategically is if you are like, let's say you have 2 empty slots, you do like a similar-ish bid without dropping players for like 4 of those guys or something. And you can prioritize it by, who you'd rather have. I probably would put Brian up a little bit. And then just obviously in that situation, you're not getting rid of $40 FAAB if you're doing $10 on all of them because you're only able to get 2 of those guys.
Yeah.
All right. I want to get to these fruit questions and this obscure NBA 2000s player question because it got me excited. So let's crank through these here.
Oh boy.
We got Dynasty Daddy and Daddy Junior tonight. Let's go. Okay. I'll claim the temporary Dynasty Junior name. That's like a Dynasty Son thing. Is that where we're going with? Okay, I got it.
The cinematic universe is growing.
Ooh, okay, we got Jamal. I would want to know a little bit more about the format, but I don't hate the temporary idea, especially if it is a shallowish league, moving Kamara at the 107 and 307 for the 102. I think like
Oh yeah, I mean I think that's
overall it would have to be like a very deep league for me to like really want to hold on to Kamara alongside that 107. Even though I like
too.
Kamara.
If you're like a frisky team, if you're a frisky team going from like Egbuka or something to Hampton type of tier is a pretty big jump in terms of like prospect.
Yeah.
So
And
I
just
do
like
think
overall hit rate of, first round running backs
yeah.
versus
So
wide
if you're
receivers in
trying to
that
get
range.
value for Kamara, I mean Kamara's one of those guys we talked about with like Devontae Adams, where it's like, you might not need him, and if you don't need him, then like get value for him when people will actually give it to you. And this is pretty good because you probably should have to pay like an extra early second at least to move up this far, if not a late first.
All right, Austin B here, 2027 first, a 2026 late second, and Brenton Strange for AJ Brown and Jordan Mason. Man, these are the kinds of ones like I always do my like what's the format conversation and starters and everything, and like these are the kind of questions where I want to know because this is like I feel like
it's
okay,
two comments down. It's Superflex 1 PPR tight
and
premium.
Yeah, do we know starters?
So first, a second,
but because I think this is kind of like the. I mean, I'm probably taking the AJ Brown, Jordan Mason side. I'm fine buying AJ Brown for any first, assuming I feel confident I'm a contending team. Now, 2027 makes it a little sketchier when you go out 2 years, but like if I feel confident that I'm going to have that's going to be a late-ish first, even though it isn't called out, and the 2026 late second is. But I guess that's kind of a next year thing.
It also depends too. I think like how shallow it is, because like if it's like a start 11, start 12, with a big boosted tight end premium, then Brenton Strange probably does matter. And like one AJ Brown isn't going to shift my entire team's kind of longevity.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'd say it's relatively fair. I do want to pump the brakes. Not saying Brenton Strange won't be good, but I've seen a few of these deals with Brenton Strange, or Brandon Strange.
Yeah,
I need to say his name right, but Brandon Strange. I mean, he was all right, but he wasn't like anything crazy. So I don't mind getting value for him because I think there's enough ambiguity about it where people are like willing to take that bet at probably a higher price, and realistically, people should be taking that bet.
Yeah. All right, I'm kind of filtering through these Love Island questions that we're going, or comments that we're going through there. All right, here we go. In a startup
questions.
May is available at the 211. Would trading the 406 and 907 be fine to trade up and get him? All right, I need to know. So what else? If it's, 406 and 907 for the 211. The only thing
I assume too, you keep your like second and third as well. Like I feel like
I know,
like that's a huge deal in my opinion. I mean, you're jumping up a massive tier and you're not really giving up anything within that tier.
And May might not even be the pick I would necessarily make there, depending on who else is on the board. Like I'm totally fine.
No, yeah.
I'm totally fine taking May at that spot. I think he's fine. Like mid late second, I wouldn't bat my eye at any of that. But depending on what receivers are available there, especially if you're keeping like your second and third round pick and are able to take one of these, Kyler in the thirds, or you get Purdy in the fourth, like those kind of picks. So yeah, I think just pure straight up, somebody sent me this as a startup, I'm taking the 211 side 100%. But yeah, definitely don't. I'd be curious to know what the rest of the draft is or who's on the board. Let us know as you know. Ooh, Neighbors and MHJ with my first 2 picks. Ooh, yeah, Neighbors believer. 12 teams start 10.
Marvin Harrison. That's more of a Marvin Harrison Jr. believer.
Oh, that's what I meant. I am a Neighbors believer.
I'm like Neighbors. You take. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the value is just probably too high there. Take the 211. Hell, trade back if you want to like the mid third and pick up another third. I don't know. But the value is just way too good.
Yeah. All right, I got to hit this one. Making the clickbait thumbnail actionable right here with this chat. Looking to tear down from Smith to Downs, Devonta Smith to Josh Downs in a 12 by 10 full PPR. What capital would you be looking for? Fully committing to rebuilding. Okay, you might not have to rebuild with Josh Downs. No, I think that's a totally fine perspective. No, I don't think
I
you're
have
getting
Josh
a
Downs
first.
Nico Nico Collins. You heard it here first.
12 by 10. You're not getting a first. To make that tier down. Would you send out a second? You give me Downs
Like
in
do
a
a
second
Smith
for
in the second for Downs in the first or something.
Well, I would love to do that. I don't know if you can get that done. I was saying Downs in a second for Smith.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair. Smith isn't like.
I'd start with the first. I'd start with the first if you could do that like second.
Oh, that's the bread and butter when you have like a guy that gets hyped up and you're like, let me just stick a second. It's always like the 2028 second because you already traded all your other seconds.
Right, doing the same deal.
And you're like, okay, yeah, you're like, here's the 2028 second. Give me the better player, or give me a first. I always like to kind of do that. Because I don't think Downs plus a first, you're getting I would do that, but I don't think that's an offer that's realistically on the table, unless if you look up a weird one in my trade database. But yeah, I think about a second is what you need to add, because while Downs has shown flashes, Smith is consistently good enough that you can start him and not worry about it. He won't be like a top end wide receiver 1, but he'll probably be a solid low end wide receiver 2 for the rest of his life. And it's like, well, that's still worth something versus Downs, which is like, is Anthony Richardson starting? We're still also sitting here acting like Daniel Jones is a kingmaker in fantasy, which, Wayndale Robinson's our best bet. So
I know.
There's still some things to be desired when it comes to that quarterback situation.
I don't know if anyone else has hit this exact combo. I was on Twitter and I watched a breakdown. It was like all of like Anthony Richardson's throws, like whatever X yards down the field, and it was just like so many bad misses, and it was like, oh, I'm even more in on Downs. And then immediately after, it was a Theo Johnson specific post, and it was every Theo Johnson target, and it was just all these bad, and like some of them I'm like remembering my Daniel Jones belief and being like, he was, there's a lot of pressure.
He was really fast. He beat the Bucks that one game. Yeah, it's
he did go to the playoffs.
As someone that is very much a Anthony Richardson stockholder, AR's coming back. He'll be fine.
Okay.
Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna work out.
Down. I'm down for it. Quarterbacks are allowed to get better. Shout out to Josh Allen. I gotta
especially he's like what, 22?
Quarterbacks are allowed to get better. Guys, here we go. Okay.
Yeah, this is his Josh Allen year.
This is Josh. Wasn't that a thing? He was like working with the same
He is working with the trainer.
Trainer.
Josh Allen did take the leap in year 3. That being said, there's a lot of differences.
And he has the Stephon Diggs in Josh Downs. It is
my biggest concern, I think people are brushing over the fact that Anthony Richardson has this nagging back issue. That to me is more concerning than him playing like 10 bad games. Like if he played 2 full seasons, it's like, okay, that we would know more about him and see how he can actually progress. But like right when he plays like 5 games and he hurts his back, and it's like, like what can I do in that situation? So I'm worried the injuries will kind of catch up to the patience that the organization has, which the Colts don't really have much at this point.
I know, yeah, and maybe I'm thinking about things too best ball perspective, because there's a lot of nuance, I think, to the Colts situation specifically with Steichen, and if this team doesn't make the playoffs, like coaching for his job kind of thing. But I do think you could do a similar corollary to the Steelers with Fields and Russell Wilson. If we remember going back to the start of last season, a lot of people's takes were whoever is the first QB to play is not going to be the QB at the end of the season, because one of them will be so bad that they will just naturally have to turn to the other one. I don't even think Fields is that bad, so I'm not trying to do that. But I do think that you could kind of do this thing with like, how likely is it that this Daniel Jones led Colts team, if that's the start of the season, is like, 6-2 and is like, oh wow, they're rolling. Is that super likely?
I do want to say I'm not sitting here saying Josh Allen or Anthony Richardson will be Josh Allen. That's literally like 0.01% outcome. I'm not believing in any of that. I will say I do think Anthony Richardson will see the field unless if Daniel Jones just rips. Because we saw with like Fields last year, Fields did really well, but they still plugged in Wilson. If Daniel Jones is not put the Colts in a winning situation, yeah, like the team's just going to get desperate. So, that's kind of where I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Is like I just think like the coaching staff is going to get desperate and be like, okay, if we can show any sort of progression, then maybe we get another year. But I think ultimately next year we're here and they cleaned house, and all those quarterbacks are on different teams, and we're looking at something else.
All right, we got one here from Mark Wilk, and then I'm gonna pull up the community post on the stream question that we had. So this one here from Mark Wilk, 10-man full PPR, 2.0 tenant premium, super flex. Would you trade Loveland, Jonnu, and Muth? Man, you're giving him the whole tight end. Yeah. Oh, this is the tight end for tight end deal. The triple. Oh my gosh. I guess this is what happens in the 2.0 tenant premium leagues. The three-headed
trading
horseman.
all your flexes.
All right, Loveland, Jonnu, and Muth for Kittle, Likely, and Arroyo. I'm contending and also have Njoku. So you are trading away having Njoku. You are trading away having Njoku, then Loveland, Jonnu, and Muth, or Njoku having with Kittle, Likely, and Arroyo. I'm trying to do that because I think
sorry. You kept placing in Njoku.
It's just it's how my brain breaks down the trade because that's the part of the roster I know, and I'm trying to think of like having Njoku because I do think that for right or wrong, because I think a lot of people like to do the value things, and it's like your team isn't your team for the whole season. You can make trades, yes, of course, but I do kind of like to do the whole. Like you're building your team a certain way and like having a competing Njoku tight end for the next couple seasons. Does that change your perspective on wanting to keep a Colston Loveland in a 2.0 tight end premium versus going for Kittle if you're a contending team?
I think the thing here, and this is kind of why the trade is, you can pause, is because Kittle is a win now piece.
True.
Massively win now. In this massive tight end premium, he's going to be a difference maker, even though it's a 10-man league, right? So these middle-level tight ends, even with the tight end premium, are not going to be as impactful. Mm-hmm. The hard part is you are giving up a Loveland, in that if Loveland does smash and you're like sitting here a year or 2 years and you're like, I just gave up the next Trey McBride type player, in this format would be impactful. To me, though, I'm probably just going to say, hey, like I'm trying to win. Kittle, Njoku, Likely, and then if Herrero becomes a thing, sure. Whereas instead, like this is you're basically getting, Loveland and then like a timeshare. And like a timeshare seems like a good thing until you realize I'm stuck with a timeshare. No one wants this because I have both Muth and Jonnu. So you're getting value from Muth in this trade. And to me, like I'll probably just take the upside of if Herrero hits, and I can also just say I have Kittle. Kittle's going to crush for a year or two. It's a 10-man league. I assume I can backfill tight end. Maybe I give up, the next Sam Laporta type tight end. But if I don't, like, I have Kittle, who's probably going to be tight end 1, 2, 3, and, a top 20 player in my format.
Yeah, and I'm going to move on after this one. But I think that Likely, too, is one of those, like, value jump names. I mean, we were talking about, now I think Andrews stays for the season for sure. But let's say, think about the likely jump you'll get in value in this kind of format specifically. Let's say Andrews, boom, gets traded to the Chargers, whatever. I don't care. Like tomorrow that happens. Like how high are people on Isaiah Likely? It would be fun, but how high would people be on Isaiah Likely in a 2.0 tight end premium league? And I think that's another boost.
That's pretty likely.
There you go. Which yeah, and I do think that you are kind of paying the bang upside that you could get, the BAM upside with a Loveland, with that draft capital in that situation. But I think I could see myself doing it. I'm sure that warp line is pretty crazy in what I assume is a shallow league.
I don't know the context here, but Sean said I do exactly what Jeremy suggests. Just shout out.
Good call. All right, I'm ready for this one. There's that. It's Brenton. We're talking about Brenton Strange. All right, here we go. Shout out to Jeffrey Jacobs. Left a comment on the community post Jeremy had made for the stream on the channel. It's a 12-team start 10. Superflex PPR 1.10 or premium start 2 tight end. So 1.0 and start 2 tight end. Complete rebuild, earning the 101. So Jeffrey is claiming the 101 in 2026. Love that. Sent DK and Jarquez Hunter for a 2026 mid-late first, 2026 early mid-second. I think this is a great trade. just naturally. And I'm not even like a huge DK hater, but specifically with a rebuilding team that is so set on earning the 101 in 2026. I mean, these are the moves you love getting, where it's you're trading away an asset you don't think is going to jump in value, that just is what it is for a contending, competing team, to get the equivalent in draft capital. And I even think you could say you're making out with the mid late first and mid early second.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think just a first straight up for DK and Hunter is probably fair. So you kind of get an extra second. And as a rebuilder, like what I always say, I've been grinding some roster reviews. What I always say is it's like you got to think about your window. And if DK Metcalf is worth, $100 now, but your window isn't until next year or the year after, like that $100 now is nothing. So even if you sell it at 80 cents on the dollar there, at least that's 80 cents I can use in the future. You're selling it for a premium, so you're even making out. I mean, you turned $100 into like 150.
All right, I gotta play an alarm when we get a complainer in the chat. Tristan here. If we don't get a fun question next, I'm gonna throw a temper tantrum on. Okay. I did say I wanted to get to the fun question because I did really like this one. We also have another. Here's another. Hey, Will, in quotation marks. What's up with all these football questions? Usually sprinkle in more fun ones in between. I'm working. Okay, we are growing. Here we go. Here's a fun one. Jeremy and Will, who's your favorite obscure 2000s NBA player? All right, I'm gonna take this a different route because obscure, I feel like I could show my ball knowledge and really try to hit a name. I am gonna go. I'm a Pistons fan, but this will always be my favorite NBA player of all time, Ricky Rubio. Will was obsessed with Ricky Rubio. I would rewatch.
They took him over Curry.
Yeah, okay. I would rewatch Rubio passing highlights all through high school in my dorm room constantly. I love Ricky Rubio. If you guys don't know who Ricky Rubio is, I want you to go on YouTube. Not right now. Stay on the stream. After the stream, YouTube, Ricky Rubio, best plays, best passes. Oh, Wolves fan, I'd love. He was so good. He was so fun too. He's just like a fun player.
I was a Bobcats fan growing up, so I got to give shouts to Gerald Wallace.
Okay, there you go.
The first Bobcats All-Star. I mean, he was great.
Ooh, white chocolate. You guys are gonna get me to watch some 2000s NBA. Was it? I assume this is
pick up the lightning mode here. We're starting to get cut.
Yeah, true. All right, here we go. Let's go. We're gonna speed roll some of these as we're starting to lose some of the chats up there. All right, what up, John P? Rashi Rice and a 26th third for James Cook. 12 team 1 QB PPR 0.5 PPC is probably the one reason that you would do this trade.
Yeah, no, I was like, no, I would definitely take Rice in a plus. 1 QB as well. In a 1 QB league, typically it's going to just be running back and wide receiver, and with that point per carry.
0.5.
Especially being 0.5. Yeah, I mean, I think you just got to take James Cook. I'm not even the biggest James Cook guy, but that 0.5 point per carry is just going to rip. I mean, 2 carries is worth a catch.
I know, especially these running backs too, and like in Dynasty, like we always talk about treating the running back position in terms of like 1 to 2 year windows, and we could talk about touchdown regression and everything for James Cook, but like this is a running back who reasonably is about to get a second contract and be in the same situation for the next 3-ish seasons, and like those kind of players in this kind of league are super valuable. 0.5 PPC is nuts. All right, we found
who's on the other side of the trade here. Tristan, he said, "Give me Rice."
I mean, the only thing I would push back on the give me Rice, because I thought give me Rice when I read out that trade until I got to 0.5 PPC, is like you really start to think about the floor that a running back has. So like just carries. If you do just carries and you give Cook 12 carries. Like if you give Cook 12 carries, that is
6 points
off the bat. No yardage, no touchdowns. That is.
And then he falls into the end zone 20 times, and you're like, wow.
And just and like I said, I mean the value that those running backs hold. Yeah, But I mean, Rice, I do love Rice, so it is tough. And then a lot of sweet chats. I don't want to miss this during the lightning mode on Jeremy's sweet smile. Seems so happy all the time. Pearly whites complete me. And then Wandale is basically a Jag. Wait, I didn't even see the Wandale comparisons. Down should have a higher ceiling.
I mentioned Wandale. I think when we were talking about Downs.
I don't listen to you when you talk. I just wait until it's my
Probably
turn.
Smart.
All right. Am I dumb for taking Hunter with the 307? I'm just so high on him. So this is back to that startup, I assume. And this is, if you're starting MHJ, Neighbors, you're trading up to take Drake May, you're not going to have a fourth. It's so tough for me to take Hunter, even though I love him, over quarterback at the 307. If you don't have
Hunter
a fourth.
usually goes around the 310.
Like I'm totally fine with it, but this is why
A-Chain, JSN, AJ Brown.
This is why Zeno, and like this is why it's nice in a startup. I think if you're high on him and you're confident, I'm just a little scaredy wussy cat in a startup versus a rookie draft where like I will preach like let's go Hunter 103 every day of the week, but in a startup when I can just go like I'll just take Nico or London in the second, and then in the third I'll take my quarterback, or in the third I'll take.
You could take Kyler maybe if Kyler's there. Stack him with Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying the 211. Let me know what wide receivers are there if you haven't made that trade and pick. Will doesn't smile as much. Sorry, what?
You need to smile more.
I feel like I got a good smile. I don't. Is it? Maybe it's not. I don't have a good smile. Maybe
Chat, be nice to him. Be nice.
All right, I have a confession, guys. I have a confession. Actually, never mind. I don't want to say it out loud. Olivia told me not to say it out loud.
We'll save that for the Dynasty Daddy After Dark. We got Devonta Smith. Did you get the Devonta Smith in a late 26 first for Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Okay, I'll put this away for a second. We'll come back to you, Zeno, because my eyes are perking up.
I tried to get Deers in before it hit the cut.
Oh, good call. I think I missed it because I had highlighted that earlier. Yeah. Late 26 first for MHJ. In a shallow format, I'd be fine doing this, but in most, like, if it's like 10 starters or more, I'm fine taking Smith in the first.
Yeah, I just think a first, like, not that every late first is Brian Thomas Jr. or something, but just the flexibility.
Think about this,
and then if you take them,
like Egbuka, one of the tight ends, if it's a tight end premium, like that's not going to be every single class, but like. Every rookie drafts, there are picks in that late first that end up hitting, and there's
players, if it was like if it was like clickbait, Josh Downs in a late first for Marvin Harrison Jr. I feel like a player of that tier, you're certainly taking it, but when you get to that next tier of like the Devonta Smith, borderline like Waddle type players of like they're kind of worth a late first, it's hard to say I want to tack a first on to that.
Love what you do with Dynasty Daddy. Keep it up, yo. I will say thank you for the stream and YouTube specific site stuff. Thank you, Jeremy. And I'm gonna add on top of that. Thank you, because I am a frequent user. The Google Sheets and Dynasty Daddy consume more time than Will wants to admit out loud.
Yeah, the screen time of Google Sheets.
Ooh, also, okay, sorry, this just caught my eye. All right, anyone else think Jeremy would look so sick if he shaved his beard and mustache and just left the soul patch? I don't really have a soul patch I could do that with. So, well, you'll have to talk to Becca about that one. I'll let you guys talk about that later.
We'll have to submit that for approval.
All right, let's get to I have to go through all these.
A-Rich for a 2028 first.
Yeah, I saw that one.
I mean, I would take that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a good deal. I mean, that's like the Michael Porter Jr. to the Nets deal where it's like, here's a 2033 first or whatever. But, if I can get value, then sure.
Okay, here is, I think, a good pushback on the Rice for Cook in the 0.5 PPC. Cook averaged 12 carries last year, which we talked about is 6 points immediately. I still think I'd rather have Rice and get the carry scam points elsewhere for cheaper. If that is true, I get it. But if I am in that Dynasty League, you're not getting my James Conner for cheap What are you talking about? This dude's going to have, 16 carries a game. You're not getting my James Cook for cheap. You're not getting my Tony Pollard for cheap. I don't care if there's going to be a split. Split's 12 carries. That's 6 points right there, bro. Now, if it's like a super shallow league and you're like stacked at running back, fine, do the pivots. But yeah, I would push back on being able to get cheap carries, scam carries for cheaper.
Yeah, I mean that's a league where like I'm being very aggressive with rostering any single running back that has a pulse. Because literally like Justice Hill is probably putting up 13 points per game. Like to me it's literally like it's going to be so hard. Like the bar for cheap production is set in like a PPR, half PPR league. You're like, okay, I can always buy Aaron Jones for a second. In that type of league, a lot of those people are just going to rely on those points. So the assumption would be I can't get RB production for cheap in that type of league. Now there might be a taco, that's like, here's a 28 first for Anthony Richardson or something like that. Then sure, maybe they're like, I don't need James Conner. He's 30. That's gross. Okay, cool. Well, he's going to average 30 points per game because the Cardinals were very efficient at running the ball last year. So, to me, I imagine it's probably pretty hard to buy running back production, like Will said.
Yep. All right, this is a two-parter, and I'm going to be fully transparent. It reminded me to address a live stream asked question that I didn't pull up a little overlay for. Ashton Genty focused. So we are going to answer this question, and then we are going to at least do a diatribe. I don't know if that's the right way to use that word, but it felt right, on Ashton Genty holding as a rebuilder for a season, at least. All right, here we go. What is the 101 worth in a 10 by 10 Superflex PPR, 0.5 10 in premium, 0.25 PPC, 6-point passing touchdown? Oof. Got Hurts, Nix, Herbert, Gibbs, Jacobs, Puka, Amon-Ra, Ladd, Rice, McBride, 101, 327 first, no other picks. Stick and pick or not? Ooh, I'm 0.25 PPC. I think I'm sticking and picking with Gibbs, Jacobs. QB room's fine. You have McBride at tight end, Puka, Amon-Ra, Ladd, Rice. I think this is the perfect stick and pick Genty team.
I've been looking for this comment. Who's it by?
Sorry, this is Christopher Garcia, 9:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, I see it. Yes. Okay. Yeah, no other picks. Got Hurts. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think to me this is just rich getting richer, right? Like, can I get an elite premium dynasty asset? Unless if like someone is backing up an insane amount of value, I'm gonna take that. If you do want to potentially trade, this is always my trade. Just try to trade back to the 102 and take Hampton. And like, can you get a haul? Because some people will give you a haul, and if you can do that, then I mean those bets are pretty similar. First round running backs. The Chargers' offensive line is going to be stellar. So I mean, I think both of those guys are probably locked in, crushing it. But in a 10-team start 10, give me the stud any day.
Yeah, 327 first. So I assume traded away 26 first and whatever capital to build out this team. Is there a specific? You don't need to give me like a specific type of move or a specific move, but is there a type of move with this team you'd be looking for off of that 102 team? Because I assume like. I don't care about like, I mean, McBride, you're set on tight end, 0.5 tight end premium. I'm kind of keeping McBride. The wide receiver room, like Puka, Amon-Ra, Ladd, Rice, like I am fine with that wide receiver room in a 10 by 10. Then maybe it'd be like the QB upgrade. Like you have Nix and Herbert. If you can like get close to that elite tier by adding something onto, trading back and doing that. But yeah, I feel like I'm forcing myself to try to make a move when I just feel so good about adding Genty.
I think the lame answer would be, I mean, not the lame answer, but the uncomfortable answer would be, hey, take Bo Nix and trade him for like 2 future firsts. Oh, okay. I don't think this in a 10 team. I don't think this team needs a ton, right? Like, I mean, you have, and you're going to add Genty to this. So you're going to Genty, Gibbs, Jacobs, Puka, Amon-Ra, Ladd, McBride, Hurts, Herbert. And you probably want to play Herbert because you got the Ladd stack. That's why I just was like, Nix, you can probably get good value for. Can I get 2 first? Any first in the future? Because that's at least going to be something that's more impactful to my roster. Or could I get like extra greedy and be like, can I take Nix and Rice and like try to get like neighbors or something like that? But in this game, in a 10 by 10, it's going to literally just be consolidation. Can I get the best player at wide receiver, running back, probably not quarterback, since it's a 10 by 10, or can I just get like a buttload of picks in the future and then just assume I get lucky and get, Ashton Jeanty? Because I don't know how this team definitely did not earn that 101. They definitely traded for it.
Yeah, and that Genty on this team just this just feels like a putting the piece. There was an analogy with a puzzle there. I'm gonna think about it and get back to you. So we'll just hold on that for a minute. But yeah, I'm sticking to picking. All right, here we go. We do have
the whole league is new to Dynasty. Okay, that makes more sense.
There you go. Ooh, what are your favorite non-standard point systems? PPC, first down bonuses, tiers. I do love me a tiered PPR. And I'm fine with like some slight PPCs. I don't like them being insane, like that 0.5 PPC. I'm like fine doing leagues like that, but I prefer like more nuanced, like tiered PPR to try to make like player positional takes harder. And I will say it is pretty standard to have a tight end premium, but I like a decent, at least pushing 0.75 up to a full tight end premium for the tight end position, just because I feel like I am so willing to just not care about the tight end position in a 0.5 or less.
Yeah, I'm always gonna say the two tight end format would
Preach.
be the best you could probably do for the tight end position. I feel like that's because we did that for quarterback. Everyone's like, "Oh, quarterbacks don't matter," but everyone wanted quarterbacks to matter because it's fantasy football and everyone cares about quarterbacks. And tight ends get a little bit more dicey when you get down to like the 20s, where it's like a guy that catches 4 catches a game or something. But I do think adding more value to the positions that are weaker is kind of how I like the format it. So if it's like a 10-team league, I'm going to be like, let me buff a lot of these quarterbacks, let me buff a lot of the tight ends. If it's a deeper league, then I'm like, okay, cool, like a basic tight end premium type deal can really make those valid flex options. Because that's what I want. I want it like everyone to be solid flex options, but not like be like, oh, every single position should be a running back or every single position should be this.
All right, I want to make sure we do hit. Okay, we'll do this Tristan one here while I'm pulling up the 2 live stream asked questions, and we'll start to hit those after I see one more great question. So we'll hit this one. We'll hit I see Evan Smith's one here. What up, Evan? So right here, football question. The commissioner of my home league hasn't done the kicker draft yet. How do I ask him to do a kicker draft? I really want to draft a kicker and I can't. Man, I got to start reading the full questions. I really trusted that, okay, I have a football question, and I just clicked. Any thoughts, Jeremy, on the kicker draft? I just dropped Justin Tucker in a league. That's still like kickers.
I think that might be pointed at me, because I do need to run a kicker draft because our league voted to have kickers.
That's like is that like the Jeremy home league?
Yeah, that is.
Nice.
And
it's beautiful. I have kickers in mine. I've been trying to vote them out.
There's nothing more contentious. Like most dynasty leagues, it's like, here's the rules, let's go. Maybe we add a flex. The rule meeting in a home league is like half of it's just swatting down bad ideas. It's like half of it is just like what if
we can't vote on this. It's terrible.
Like a serious proposal was, what if we remove all running backs? And I was like, okay, well, like what? They're like, yeah, well, running backs are less important in real life, so let's just remove them from fantasy. I'm like, so we only set like 5 wide receivers? Like, I don't know. I'm like, you need to keep that to like Scott Fishbowl or something. Like, I want to play with running backs.
All right, two ones we're hitting. So real quick, I want to touch on this Zeno one because this is mid startup draft. So this was the 211 Drake May pick that was trading up the 4th round and the 9th. So losing the 4th and the 9th to trade up to the 211 to take Drake May. If not Drake May, Zeno would take a 3rd receiver alongside Neighbors and Marv, which would be Ladd, JSN, AJ Brown, or go Drake May at the 211, and then in the 3rd, take Travis Hunter a couple picks ahead of ADP. So with all that being said, do you like the 2v2 better of like Ladd or JSN or AJ Brown and like Kyler or something in the third, or Jordan Love or whatever, whoever's there, or Drake May and Travis Hunter. I think both are fine. I mean, it's a lot of preference stuff with the receivers.
I think
Like
it's both are fine. I do think when you're picking in that range, like I'm probably just like I think Travis Hunter is good, but also just concerned about like his usage compared to other wide receivers in his range. You know, like it's like cool. Like, could I get Ladd, who's probably going to average like 9 to 10 targets a game, or have like potentially Hunter that might be more of a special gadget type player. We haven't seen his usage. And that's probably would just make me lean more towards like, oh, let me just take the surefire thing of this is a wide receiver that might not have as much of an upside, but I also don't think Hunter will ever be the wide receiver one because Brian Thomas Jr. is there, and Brian Thomas Jr. was amazing. So unless if he somehow does something incredible, or they just start air raiding the ball like we haven't seen in Jacksonville, I probably feel more confident just saying, hey, like I'll just take whatever falls to me.
Yeah, I probably would lean that way. I do think both are fine, and I might be, shout out to Alex, my Dynasty like home league guy. I got into Dynasty together. We like text constantly back and forth about stuff. He is a Drake May hater. He will constantly, we have Drake May on a team together, and every day he's like, let's cook up a trade. Let's get rid of Drake May at these prices.
Let's get rid of him. We got to get rid of him.
Overrated. Like
he
I just saw
pass
he's
Patrick
pushing
Mahomes, I think.
Yeah, that would make
a keep trade cut. And I was like, okay.
I'm gonna text my buddy about that. He's gonna throw up. But with all that being said, I think I do like Travis Hunter, but I agree with you that you're able to do a similar-ish 2v2 quarterback wide receiver position, and you're able to just take one of the guys who has shown the ability to be an elite targeter in the NFL. Like, I think Travis Hunter can do that, but there's a question outside of just can he do that, and it's, you know, the defensive back stuff and how much he plays and the splits. So I think with all that being said, even though I love Hunter, and hey, maybe you just take both and you just go, you're probably not getting Purdy, but
it's Geno
whatever.
Smith,
Trevor Lawrence to stack with your Hunter in the 5th, and you're taking, you know, maybe Dax in the 6th. You know, you could do that. You could have a nasty, and then you have 2 gross running backs in the 7th and 8th. I'll do your, or 8th and 9th maybe. I'll do your startup draft for you, or you trade your way your 9th. All right, I think that's enough breakdown of the trade here. All right, so real quick, let's hit this one. So this is Sean's in the Discord live stream ask. If you're not in the Discord, head down to the description, click the join there, and get in there. So we'll hit this one. We're going to crank through speed mode these chats. I'm doing a little breakdown so that I stick to it. And then we have 2 more like team breakdown stuff that people had put in the, shout out to, I think it was Kyle and Big Diaz put some in the Discord that we'll touch on. So let's touch on this one first. 12 by 10 Superflex PPR, no tight end premium, no point per carry. Amon-Ra, I've never gotten around to calling him F1, but Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Terry, and Swift, or Ladd, Ridley, and Chase Brown.
I think for me, my gut would just say Amon-Ra here, the Amon-Ra side.
Okay.
Just because no point per carry. I think Chase Brown is good, but I also think a lot of his value was just he ripped at the end of the year because he had to. And, you know, people are thinking, like, I don't think he's like this like super long-term secure player. You kind of have to pay a bit of a premium just because he's a young running back.
Yeah.
I think Swift will be fine. And then I think you said F1's Terry McLaurin, right?
Yeah, I'm 99% sure, and I remember because it was Scary Terry was like the big nickname thing, and I think
I love the Scary Terry name.
Or some like I think it was he or someone in his camp was like, I'm not Scary Terry, like that's not my nickname.
Oh, it's the Kevin Durant being like, I'm not the Slim Reaper.
Yeah, F1 caught on or something, or didn't catch on, but you know, something like that. This is tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, the Terry upside is just so much higher than Ridley.
Yeah,
even though Terry had like crazy touchdowns, so like that probably will regress. It's like even if it regresses, it's probably not going to regress as much as Calvin Ridley right now. So to me, I'm like, cool. Like I feel much better starting Terry McLaurin. I feel much better with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I think that downgrade from Brown to not Amon-Ra St. Brown, but Chase Brown to DeAndre Swift is not major enough for me to say I, want to take the bet that Ladd catches up in value to Amon St. Brown.
Yeah, and I do really like Ladd, and I do really like Chase Brown.
I do too. I do
for this season and next specifically. I do like. I'm a big buy. I don't think you can buy him as cheap now because I'm sure we'll get some Cam Ward puff pieces, and him and Ridley's connection looks unbeatable. But it is a rookie quarterback in what was one of the worst teams last season.
They did have the number 1 number 1 overall pick, so you can say they're the worst team.
Actual worst team in the NFL last season.
Yeah.
Proven by their peers. Yeah, it's pretty close for me just because of how much I like Ladd and Chase Brown, but I'm fine. I mean, you are going to get the Terry McLaurin contract extension here coming up soon, so just pure value bump wise, it feels pretty even to me. I mean, if Chase Brown is 80% of last season for the next 4 years, that side probably ends up feeling like they won the deal. But also we could have a great Swift year this season and he holds value throughout the year, and it's Amon-Ra and Terry with the contract extension. So I'd probably lean that side, just kind of the give me the best player in the deal type of thing if I think it's pretty close and even. But good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the best player, and then I also just trust the Commanders offense way more than the Titans, to where it's I know the Commanders were kind of in a similar situation to the Titans last year and that they stunk, but I trust that Jaden Daniels and that offense will be similar. I mean, I don't expect Terry McLaurin to put up same numbers, but to me, I still expect him to be serviceable.
Yeah.
Versus Ridley, where it's just if the situation is bad or something like that, he could kind of just get ethered.
Yeah. All right, what is up, Evan? Hey guys, push in or wait another year. So I will say the part 2 of this, just so that we can keep the full team on the stream, is all future picks plus a 26 first, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and a 27 third. So the extra 26 first and then 2 seconds. Hey guys, push in or wait another year. I'm a big push in guy, so let's see what this looks like. Oh, 5 IDP. Sorry, I didn't mean to make that noise.
5 IDP.
12 team, 0.5 PPR, Superflex, 4 point passing touchdown, lineup league, start 8, but plus 5 IDP.
Mm-hmm.
So offensively, we got QB, JD5, Hurts, Shuck, running backs, Ginty, RJ, Scadaboo, Benson backups, wide receivers, CD, Neighbors, Ted, Godwin, Tillman. Tight ends are Warren, Goddard, Sanat. Without seeing any of the IDP and understanding the breakdown of the scoring, I don't think this is a wait another year. But I don't necessarily think you need to push in too much. I mean, maybe this is you see RJ, you don't make a bet on what your running back room needs to look like right now. And maybe you don't even do that until week 2 or week 3. And you see, Genty and RJ Harvey. You feel confident about where you're going to get from JD5, Hurts, CD, Neighbors, Godwin. There's a couple of wait and sees with this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would probably do is just try to say, can I get a Tony Pollard or Aaron Jones, just a cheap innings eater type running back, just in case it takes a little bit for RJ Harvey or Scadaboo or whoever to come online. Just someone that I'm okay, cool. I have a guy that is the RB1 week 1, 2, 3, and it won't be earth shattering, but gives me a little bit of depth if some of these other guys take a little bit to kind of marinate.
Yeah. So you guys are tracking rosters through Google Sheets. I am a Google Sheet guy. I mean, I use it in tandem with pulling up leagues and Dynasty Daddy, but I can't break it, man. I love my Google Sheets. I've got all my teams on there. I color code them by where they're at as a competing team rebuilder for a year. I love it, man.
I don't touch Google Sheets for the record.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I mean, understandably.
We're all on the site. We're all on the site for me.
We hit the Sean trade question.
I think we got a few in the live stream ask.
Yes.
As well, we could hit.
All right. So let's pull that one up. So we've got this first one here. Shout out to Kyle. And let me just get this off the screen. Let's go to this one, right? Yeah, let's go.
Lamar Jackson, the box.
All right, we're pulling up this one here. So this was This one here from Kyle. This is an offer, an inbox offer. So we'll take a look at the scoring format here. This is 0.5 PPR. There's some IDP. All right, actually, I need to do this. All right, so I'll pull up the team here. You can take a look at. I want to make sure I get the full breakdown of the question. So this is leading into the rookie draft that is happening in 11 days.
Yeah, this is the
I'm trying to
trading
see
the 109.
And this is no, I don't think there's any tight end premium in this one. That's what I wanted to confirm and check. So the lean was no from
no
Kyle
tight end
here.
premium.
So right here, this is trading away the 109 to get Brenton Strange, the 203, and the 408. And just looking at this team, Josh Allen, Penix, Stafford, Russ, Swift, Braylon, Ladd, Marv, Pickens, Keon, Ridley, Chig. Has the 107 alongside the 109. Yeah, I think the toughest thing about this kind of deal is I am really excited about adding the player at the 107 and 109 to this roster. Like, I think this could really
especially
use
with like the
running backs.
the Coleman, Ridley. Like, you need a running back. Yeah, I mean, in like what are you getting? The like Strange in a non-tight end premium, and you already have Kincaid. Like, to me, I'm not. And Allen tight end 1 for the Dolphins, Waller. Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm holding pat. I'm saying I'm just going to hammer the best value at the 107, the 109, and say that's going to carry me versus moving back. What is it? Is it a 12 team? 10 team. Okay, so you're moving back, what, 4 spots? But still, like, you're going to go from a Igbuka type player to, like Luther Burden, which is a decent jump, I think.
Yeah, especially with this roster too. I mean, RB2 is Braylon Allen right now, and not that you need to think of everything in terms of contending for the next season. But I mean, you got a Josh Allen year. I mean, Ladd, Marv, Pickens, Ridley, Coleman. I mean, like, it's a solid enough wide receiver room. You add 1 or 2 of those running backs next to Swift, and you're able to flex one of them instead of playing one of these receivers. You got the 207 as well. Still, yeah, I don't think I'm doing. Also mocked. I have the opportunity to pick either Hunter or Quinshon depending on what's drafted. I wonder where Hunter's fallen nowadays. I did a lot of my rookie drafts. I have one still coming up that'll happen in a couple weeks, but most of mine were pretty close after the draft. And Hunter was at that point really locked in kind of that 102 to 104, 105 range. But yeah, I think I definitely would love to pencil in one of those running backs at the 107, 109. And I'd be fine with 2. If Hunter goes and Tet goes, and Cam Ward goes, and that's kind of the 105 through 106 or 101 through 106 with the running backs, I'd be fine going, Quinshon and RV or Quinshon and Caleb Johnson or whatever. I'm fine doing that. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Targeting a tight end. Okay.
Wait, you're targeting a tight end?
No, sorry, I read that pretty quick.
Oh,
Someone
okay.
traded to get the 105.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I was about to say, in this format, do not take a tight end.
Yeah, you got the Kincaid.
I mean, you got Kincaid and Allen stack anyway.
True. And you got that Chig breakout. You got the Darren Waller literally from the retirement death. And then this one real quick. So
you mean Darren Waller the rapper?
Yes, bro. You guys got to listen to At the Beam, man. That song's actually kind of a banger. You have to rate it on a different scale. Just like anytime it's like
intro.
Anytime it's like an athlete or like somebody that isn't in the music industry, and is like doing a foray. Man, Will's I'm struggling with the words today. Foray? Something. You have to rate it on a different scale. And it's a banger on the former NFL tight end scale.
Is it 0 to Dame doing the NBA All-Star Game halftime show?
Yes.
Where would you put that?
Exactly there. Right next to it, for sure. Viewing viewers teams. Yeah. So, Jeremy does great, roster reviews that you can set up and book through the site. But we will get live stream ask questions where sometimes people will post and share their teams and we'll quick pull them up. Not do like a full great breakdown that you'll get on the Jeremy roster reviews, but we will definitely hit on, the specific trade question or whatever question is posted in there. So if you're not in the Discord and want to do that, it's easier for us to be ready to do that on these Tuesday night live streams if you post it in the actual Discord live stream ask channel versus, somebody posting in the chat and we have to kind of scramble. I mean, we've seen me run these streams, guys. I need all the help I can get. So definitely hit up and post those in the Discord and join that if you're not in it. Let's hit, we've got this other one.
The Diaz one.
I do have the Diaz
pulling
one.
that one up?
Yeah, do you have?
I'll hit a question while you set this up.
Appreciate that.
Because there was an earlier one in the week.
Nice.
Hitty, Dynasty Daddy Club member, but he was asking, how are starters determined on the site? I have May, Penix, Fields as my QBs, and the platform shows Penix and Fields as starters based on starter rank. Generally speaking, the platform represents the best players who will likely start. But why is May considered a bench player? So obviously right now data is not the most consistent because it's in the middle of July, but we use a bunch of different sources to pull ADP values during the offseason and use those. So we use current season ADP to project those values. And just because Fields is rushing upside, his current season outlook, some people rank him rather high. So that is why you're seeing that. It actually helps your starter rank, even if the star isn't next to your player. It gives you the best optimal lineup every time. So eventually we'll update, and during the season, we use rest of season rankings from around the community. So then it will update every single week with injuries and how players are performing. So that's why sometimes in the offseason you'll see some weird starter lineups because, all the data isn't completely set in stone yet.
Perfect timing. I am ready. I'm sure that response was great. I was not listening. All right. We've got this one here. So this is from Diaz. And I will say, not that anyone cares other than me and Diaz, but I saw a little Spike Brawl Stars icon. I used to be a Brawl Stars gamer as well. Any Brawl Stars gamers in the chat used to have that. I always had that one mobile game that I would waste my time in the work bathroom playing. That was Brawl Stars for me. I don't know if anyone, any like clashers or anything. All right, we can move past that. That's enough. That's enough time to vote it too.
Bueller?
There we go. I'll get one person in the chat that's like, hey, Brawl Stars. Okay. All right. Inbox offer right here. I'm gonna make this a little bit. Let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger. No. All right, it's fine. All right, inbox offer 12 by 10, 2 QB PPR, 1 10 premium. This is deep IDP rosters. The QB passing is -3 interceptions, 6-point passing touchdown, and then there's some 0.1. So for quarterbacks, 0.1 for passing first downs, and then 0.5 for the positional first downs. So running back, wide receivers, and tight ends. There is a minimum $1 FAAB bid. So this is the inbox offer we can see on the left here. So the context for the team: 1, 2 out of 4 years, top team each year, like to extract and bank a war chest every year for attrition. Would not have won last season if not for liquidity to pay for Allen and Puka when I suffered attrition, and I tried to sell Tua and Darnold so I could accept this offer. No one wants them. Tua is dead according to most thoughts. Yeah, Tua's tough. Kind of like black marble. But man, I'm looking at that receiving. Kyler and BTJ trading away Tyler Warren, 26 first, or 3 26 first, one being Diaz's own. 12 by 10, quarterback, 1.10 in premium. Kyler and BTJ. Wide receiver room: Chase, Puka, BTJ, AJ Brown,
Kyler McBride.
You get Kyler McBride. Oof. All right, so man, I mean,
I think
is BTJ Bam enough for you to do this? Because this is a pretty nice team.
So there's a couple things I'm thinking here. Is like, first off, all the picks are in the same year, which is kind of a good thing. Like, I'm not selling 27, 28s. Like, I am basically taking my medicine this year. Yeah, and that's it.
Would you like to look at the teams of the firsts that are being traded away? real quick as a reference.
Yeah, you can.
So one is rebuilding. Their team name is Last Place. This is quite the start of checking the 26 first.
Ooh, this is gonna make things a little harder.
Okay, it is kind of interesting though. Okay, so obviously they don't have any first in 26. It's like you look at the running back room and the quarterback. You're like Stroud, Stafford, Daniel Jones. Okay, I can talk myself into that like being a reasonable quarterback room, even though it's not good. Kyron, CMC, Kamara, Aaron Jones, and then you get to the wide receivers, and this number one starred is negative camp report Jack Besh. Darnell Mooney, QJ.
Darnell Mooney.
Okay, you got both. He has both the Raiders receivers. Rookie
I mean, he has the entire waiver wire. I mean, he's got Hopkins, Luke McCaffrey still rostered.
Mark Andrews. Okay, this team, some work would need to be done, and it's some scrambling work for you to turn this into a competing team at the wide receiver position.
I will say that probably adds a little bit of extra context in that, like, this is you're probably giving up a top 3 pick. And then you got a late pick.
He can't start, or they can start 4, like all 4 of these running backs can hit the starting lineup, and you only have to start 3 of these receivers, which helps a little bit.
Ontario King is currently ranked 10.
Yeah, this is the other one.
Rank.
This is Mahomes.
They're probably giving up 2 top half picks.
Penix, Hampton, Judkins, Henry Swift, Downs. Yeah, this wide receiver room is rough too. And doesn't have a lot, like only another first is in 27. It's not like they have a ton of seconds to be able to, turn the wide receiver room around. That is tough.
I'll be 100% honest. I don't think the biggest need on this team is quarterback or wide receiver. Like on Big Diaz's team.
Yeah.
And you're giving up 2 early picks for BTJ when it's just like, do I want another Lamborghini in my wide receiver garage? Like, to me, I feel like if I want to move a pick, like, can I try to trade back one of these picks to like the rebuilding teams and be like, give me everything? Because you're probably going to get an extra premium on that if they can control their future again. Like, can you go get Hampton or in something else potentially? Or probably not even something else, but I mean, you need a wide receiver or a running back. You could probably just say, hey, give me Hampton. I'll give you back your first. And then you're like, cool. Like, your early pick becomes your early pick back.
I wish there was a Dynasty asset.
That to me, I feel like I don't know if like I would try to break or like stack all those pieces together, because I think those 2 early first are probably going to be worth, like, I could probably get premium assets for each of them, and I'm only really walking away with one guy that's super premium, and then like Kyler, who is just forever underrated at this point, unless if he's turns back the clock and puts up an amazing year. But I mean, he put up a QB 10 year, and everyone said he was bad. So I mean, there's only so much you can do with that.
All right, would you do it if it was Caleb instead of Kyler? Would that change?
I don't think I would.
Okay.
I don't think I would.
I just want to check.
I think I would do it if it was like, I don't know. I mean, I think it would have to be borderline insane.
I know this
team.
Like,
I'm giving up 2 very early picks, most likely, and I think I can just go to them and say, "How about you give me Kyron, McCaffrey, in Kamara, and I'll give you your pick back." It's not like those players are helping you anyway.
Yeah.
Like, kickstart the rebuild. Give me all your old guys. I'm gonna go win because I'm getting $200 on the pick. Because like, what else are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna blow up your team without your first. Like, you're just gonna make that pick better. So like the team with McCaffrey and Kamara, they're just gonna hold on to their players, unless if you can get their pick. Like, I do think I think in a vacuum, if these were more like middle picks, I'd be more open to the idea of like, just get me the elite value now. But the fact that these are probably 2 early picks, it's tough to kind of give up both of them in one deal. I probably do just one. Like, I do a first round pick, one of the earlies, and like my first round pick and something else or something. But giving up both those early picks that's a steep ask.
Yeah. Would you? Last question on this one, because I do like the way you approached that, and potentially go into those other teams if you. Because I don't think you need to do anything with this team, even though I would love to like feel better about. And I like Diaz talking about trying to get something for Tua and Sam Darnold to feel better about making this move, like just in liquidity, like you talked about in the attrition asset value wise. Would you do this move if it was Diaz's 27 first with this team instead of one of those 26 firsts. And it was, you can choose. I love doing the you can choose thing because I feel like it gives people the feeling of they're getting the leverage in those conversations. But would you do Diaz's 26 first, one of those fraud teams, rebuilding teams firsts, and then the 27 instead of that other 26 first? Just to have that early mid still in your pocket for this next season. And the 27 first you're trading away is a team that has Josh Allen, Kyler, Chase, Puka, AJ Brown, BTJ, Gibbs, Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, McBride.
In that world, I'd be more. I think I'd be more inclined to do that because I'd also have the idea of like, okay, cool. I can probably take AJ Brown and get a first back. I can probably take like Sam Darnold and get a second plus. Like I could probably find ways to maneuver some of my other pieces and kind of recoup some of that 27 value that I lost. Getting that another elite young player. I just think it's tough when you give up too early first. Because not only is it early first, but some people just get desperate, man. Like no one wants to be the Carolina Panthers trading away, DJ Moore and 2 first-round picks and all this for Bryce Young, and then they give up the 101. No one wants to do that. And that's why like you could probably have a legitimate conversation of like, I'll give you back your first, just give me Hampton. And like ultimately, like you just took an early first and just turned it to now. But I mean, some of those crazy deals you see in the trade database are probably just teams that are like, I cannot swallow the idea that I gave up a top 3 pick, and I can't control it because my team is, I have Josh Downs as my wide receiver 1, and maybe he'll become something, but like that's not going to carry you to outcompete 12 other teams or 11 other teams.
Yeah.
So I would definitely be more inclined to be like, okay, like let me follow up with all these managers. Do they want their picks back? Exhaust that avenue before I'm like ever considering trading both of them in one deal.
All right, that's beautiful. I love that, and I see. I'm gonna put you on the screen here. This one from Subtitled Chip here. Yo, Jeremy. I haven't seen you. It's kind of weird having you on the screen and I'm doing the little read breakdown, but we're just gonna roll with it. It's like the narrator. Yo, Jeremy. I haven't seen you since the trade, but how are we feeling in Woody's Roundup, Woody Marks Fan Club, with the addition of Chubb? Me, not too concerned. There's a little Jar Jar Binks I could have done there. Considering the contract, but wondering what you think.
I think his like handcuff ability is a little bit hindered. I think Chubb is kind of like that insurance policy they brought in that he's not going to be super efficient. Woody has to kind of outperform him, but I think long term the bet's still pretty similar. It's just like is it one injury away from Woody becoming a guy? I like Woody as a talent. I do think it hurts him as kind of that handcuff. There's other players alike ahead of him that I didn't have previously, just because the situation is kind of changed, right? Like I'm higher on players like, like Jaden Blue. Well, I guess Jaden Blue I was already higher on. I'm trying to think of other cheap guys.
Yeah, it'd be like Giddens would be a similar range of like that kind of.
Yeah, like a Giddens type, like Giddens, low key like a Jordan James. I kind of like.
I think my thing with Woody
Ollie Gordon
being in the Woody Marks Fan Club is I think the nice thing about the Chubb edition is Chubb is just not going to be like competing for the same like third down snap passing role that Woody Marks you're hopefully projecting kind of takes over from the Dario Gumbawale snaps that we saw taken away from Mixon last year. Like Mixon will play some third downs, but I think that's the role that you could see like Mixon continuing to lose in this season that Woody Marks can take over. Yeah, James White.
Yeah, and I think too that both of them are injury prone, so like there's still a reality that Woody Marks has some sort of impact later in the year, but I think it just becomes a little bit more clogged as like a backfield. I do want to hit this one by Eric. He said, "Can you confirm the bench does not affect your starter ranking?" I can. It only counts the players that have stars on it for your starter ranking. So they are. Every time you look at your power rankings, you have your trade value ranking or the overall ranking, and then you have your starter rank, which is based on just your starting lineup.
Ooh, amazing assessment, gentlemen. Thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you. And Diaz, that's a great looking team. I will say I do love.
It's a fun spot.
There's like this like something is lifted off your chest when you're like taking a look at a roster and breaking down like the different avenues of how you would handle a trade, and you're like, this team is sick. Like, you know, either of these trades, even though I wouldn't do it. Yeah, I mean, it is hard. I will say,
it's nice when you're like, oh, do I put AJ Brown on the bench?
Right. I will say there's a little bit of the tax. I feel like when you break down that kind of trade where it's like, man, it would feel really good to have Kyler QB2 and BTJ added to this roster. It would feel sad to get rid of those 3 firsts, but I think you talked about it in that breakdown of like, that's the kind of team where you can compete. That team can compete for a bye without trading away those 3 firsts in Tyler Warren.
Yeah, and I think too the big thing is just like the psychology of like 2 teams that are potentially rebuilding, and they might not have accepted it yet, but 2 teams that are probably rebuilding and they don't have their future. And that is a tough spot to fit in. That is going to be the Phoenix Suns in 2030 when they are still paying Bradley Beal $200 a month or whatever. Not 200 a month, but $20 million a year. That you don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to be a Panthers watching the generational quarterback of Caleb Williams get picked after you traded Caleb Williams a first and DJ Moore in a second and all this crap. And sometimes you can take advantage of that and just say, hey, like, why do you have all these old players?
We got the 2-parter here. Request from Big Diaz. When I do a super chat, you play the We Stay Fly. No lie, you know this ballin' clip. I'll find a cool way to play the clip, but I'll put this on screen. Thank you for the $5 super chat, and I'll play this for you. Okay, this is insane. Can I just get... I'm sorry, I have to put this on... This looks like a terrible will F up here. Can I go stream display here and show that I tried to find... This is a YouTube short that is titled We Stay Fly, No Lie, You Know This Ballin', and the song is just not that. It's just not that song. Not even remotely. And we still got your trade up here in the top left. So apologies.
It's
a good thing we don't have a ton of trades lined up in the chat. Like, I see some questions here I want to hit, but I think I needed to pull this up to apologize to Diaz. And with that being said, I'm gonna pull up just a real quick. This is it's all falling apart. So let's we'll come back to this. Diaz, thank you again for the $5 super chat, and I will be playing that audio. Jeremy won't be able to hear it.
Tier will moment.
So he'll be answering a trade question, and then we'll just be bumping some Jim Jones.
Just wait. One day we'll have a compilation of will moments. We'll have to tier list all the will moments.
I think the worst thing about that is I would be the person that would like put that together. Like that would be my role
like,
right now.
I'm gonna pick out all the moments to look over.
All right. Do you think Hunt will be relevant this year? So I think this is kind of it's kind of like the rookie hype thing with like Brashard Smith, and there's a very real chance that he is competing for special team, and we are like praying that these kind of like he's catching some balls from Mahomes, has some sort of third down role. I think there's some conversation to Pacheco at the end of last season, injury wise. But I do think that Hunt will get some carries. I don't necessarily think it'll be as split as last season. Like I do think that if I had to make a bet, Pacheco gets the first crack at you're the guy. And if the juice is not necessarily 100% there, and it's like 80% of a couple seasons ago and just a little bit better than last season, I do think there's a very real chance we get some Hunt touchdown vultures and, 8 carries from Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Pacheco is banged up, or at least coming off a pretty gruesome injury. So, I mean, to me, like, yeah, I mean, and he played even when Pacheco was back. So I still think he'll be relevant. Will he be super relevant every week? Probably not. That's probably going to have to be a, week-to-week decision that you make. But in general, I think he's certainly someone that I feel like if I'm a contender, I want to be rostering him if he's available. Especially over any of those dart throw, I don't want to say it too loud, but Woody's Marks type players, like if I'm contending, a Hunt has a much higher upside for me than, trying to just roster a bunch of random, waiver wire rookies. So to me, Hunt is definitely a good pickup.
I will say, and people will probably scoff at hearing you say that, but I just had to change a nickname on a Kareem Hunt on a roster, a deep league that said any third. So I had to change any third nickname for Kareem Hunt. So that happens. That's real. Now I didn't get it done, obviously, because I had to change the nickname. But I'm sure it was close to getting done if I pushed harder. Close. All right, we've got this one earlier from Frankie, Ate the Chocolate, who actually was here. The first message in the stream. Frankie, I want to shout you out. If you didn't see, we answered your question earlier in the chat that you had put up there. Rashid, Dak, Caleb, and a 26 first for Jalen, I assume Hurts, Tyrone Tracy, and Jordan Addison. So if this is, I don't know the starters, if you got that, let us know, Frankie. But a 12 by 10 Superflex, are you trading away Dak, Caleb, Rashid Shaheed, and a 26 first for Jalen Hurts, Tyrone Tracy, and Jordan Addison?
Is that in the chat? Hold on, I'm
sorry. This was a I moved up
higher. Okay,
956.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I can.
I assume it's Jalen Hurts, right? Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
Tracy.
It has to be. If you're adding a first onto Dak and Caleb, I assume it's getting up for Hurts.
I'm probably doing that, to be honest.
Yeah.
In like a void, I just think Hurts is such a difference maker, especially in the Superflex league. To me, like I like Rice a lot, but like the dip from Rice to Addison isn't huge. Dak plus a first for Jalen Hurts is a steal. And like so it's like Dak, Caleb in the first is probably maybe Jalen Hurts, and you get like a Tyrone Tracy throw in, which I will say, watch some of the old videos. I'm like, hey man, you got to sell Tyrone Tracy. Might be time to buy Tyrone Tracy because it's not guaranteed that Scadaboo's going to be an efficient player. Tyrone Tracy certainly had a lot of spark with the Giants, and now that his value isn't borderline at first, I mean, he's a good buy for a decent price.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I know it is kind of funny when we ether like late round running backs who had decent seasons for another late round running backs. Now you could talk about the class or whatever, but a fourth round running back is a fourth round running back regardless.
A lot of times I will poo on a player just because when I go on Keep Trade Cut or other fantasy markets on my site, it'll be like Drake May, Patrick Mahomes, and I'm like, okay, like let's pump the brakes here. Tyrone Tracy was pumped up very high, and the fact that a fourth round running back has made him tumble, like I'm not too scared that I think both of them are going to be involved in some extent, and Tyrone Tracy could totally win that job. I mean, it's like Kyron Williams when they select Corum and everyone's like, oh, it might be over. It's like no, they might just continue doing what they did last year.
Heck yeah. All right, shout out Chef. This is so cool. And then I want to follow it up with sorry cat jumped on my keyboard. I went to your site and it shows when you are streaming. That's dope. Yeah, shout out to Jeremy setting that up. Heck yeah.
Got to pump the stream. Got to build up our YouTube channel.
Oh, all right. So this is kind of back to the Woody Marks fan club convo. Any hope left for Dameon Pierce in Dynasty? Could you see him regaining some value if he is traded? Yeah, I do think there is some merit to like the scheme stuff with running backs. I think that doesn't get talked about a lot in terms of like running backs that are better in zone gap schemes. But it is tough, I think, to just take a look at the trajectory of a running back and the age he will be when he gets moved. And it's hard to believe a team is like trading for Dameon Pierce. Like, yeah, okay, Dameon Pierce gets traded to the Cowboys tomorrow, and it's like, ooh, like you can sell him for a third anywhere. But
my question in response to this question would be, do you like Nyheim Hines?
I did,
because he's a worse Nyheim Hines, and like
I did like.
I think it's over. I don't think he'll ever be in a situation where he's even like one injury away preseason. Maybe like week 13 when everyone's limbs are falling off, he might get some run. So I don't think he's like not worth rostering, but I don't think he's going to be any sort of valuable piece. He's going to be a throw-in. He's going to be one of the guys you pick up and cut. And it's a shame he had a good first year, but I mean that's just kind of how the game goes.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, when we're starting to get running backs that went from getting the number of carries Pierce Scott in the rookie season to taking special team snaps and returning, kickoffs, it gets a little sketch for sure. Hard to see that regain.
I will say too, I kind of random, but it's just along the same memory. It was like I saw like a highlight reel of like James Robinson highlights.
Oh man,
for the Jags, and I was just like, I forgot about that was like such a beautiful moment. This like unknown dude just starts ripping it, and unfortunately for him, I mean, he was a very talented running back pre-Achilles injury. I mean, like even like he had multiple seasons of production until he frankly suffered an injury. I felt bad for him because he was undrafted, so we didn't get that big contract.
Yeah, I was about to get so pre-defensive on a Bucky Irving mention, but I'm happy you went to the pre-Achilles injury. I was afraid you were going to land that plane somewhere else, and I was going to have to get in the pilot seat and crash it.
I will say I'm in Scott Fishbowl.
Nice.
I did take Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving.
Heck
so
yeah. You will
can't
be
say
happy.
I'm a hater.
You will be satisfied with the production you get from that draft slot. If you had to choose one in a 12-team PPR, Jarquez Hunter or J.K. Dobbins? Yeah, I think J.K. Dobbins is like a pretty specific bet. Like I'm excited to have J.K. Dobbins on my team.
Definitely Dobbins, yeah.
So yeah, I think like the teams. I mean, I didn't feel great enough about it to pull it up to put on the stream, but I don't know if you saw. I believe it was some sort of Denver beat. That was, and we see this. Reporter. We see this all the time. Like we could go through hilarious old beat reports of like beat reporters.
He's got to get the engagement
right, or breaking down like the number of carries running backs will have a game, and it's like, do you think this team is running 200 plays a game? Like, how are all three running backs getting 20 carries? But there was a lot of positive buzz. Right? Yeah, there was a lot of positive.
That felt very pointed.
Yeah. There was some positive sentiment and I will say the funniest thing about the quote, and I really should just pull it up, but we're hitting the point where the bladder isn't ready, but we're starting to feel it. So I don't know if I'm going to search it up and find it, but it was basically like expect Dobbins to be the starter. RJ Harvey will like get his whatever touches and plays. And also Jaleel is Sean Payton's most trusted guy, which is like, what does that even mean?
I feel like Jaleel's like the guy that just shows up. I'm like reading anything about the Broncos, and they're like, yeah, these wide receivers are really good. And also Jaleel McLaughlin. I'm like, I've been on this train. Like I've seen it multiple years. This isn't anything that matters.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I will say too, like Ray Rue says Hunter's getting a lot of analytics love. I mean, I'm a big fan of Hunter. To me though, it's just I think Dobbins has first off, I think I could probably flip Dobbins right now for like a third, potentially, if someone's really desperate or really bought in. But two, I think I'm going to know the answer on Dobbins a lot quicker. I'm going to be able to say he is playing, he is doing well, I can flip him now or use him. Whereas Hunter is like, okay, well, he's still behind Kyron. He still has to beat out Blake Corum. Like, I do think Hunter is a very exciting prospect, but like his situation is not is like green field. Whereas Dobbins is the vet in that room. I mean, they have just a bunch of, first, second, third year guys. And now they actually have a vet in there that's been in the league, knows how the business works. So I could totally see Dobbins being kind of used as a 1-2 with RJ.
Yeah. And I will say, shout out to the spreadsheet nerds. I'm one of you. But there's a lot of spreadsheet nerds that will look at like Kyron Williams' efficiency and just point to like what a great role and position for Jarquez Hunter to come in. We are going to get a Kyron extension here soon. Like that is just like the way that Sean McVay has used Kyron. And I mean, you could talk about some churn and burn with McVay, but in the past, McVay has had a guy, loved his guy. I think there's a chance that, Hunter has a role this season, but I don't think that role is like beating out Kyren Williams as the trusted Sean McVay running back anytime soon. And I do think we're going to get a Kyren contract extension. Might not be insane. It's tough for running backs to get, big money deals for multiple seasons, but would not surprise me at all if we get like a 3-year decent money deal for Kyren and he's just the Rams running back for, 2 to 3 seasons for sure. I feel like Cam Ward is the least hyped QB selected number 1 overall in recent memory. It feels like there's little hype, buy low, or let someone else hold the bag. Owner wants T for Cam plus a 26-second. Me no like. Yeah, I mean, in Superflex, it is the amount. I mean, you look at the busts and you try to, it's hard, I think, for people to segment their mind. But like, even going back to like Zach Wilson, like these like early first round quarterbacks, like you don't like feel like the leash was long. Yeah, you don't feel like the leash was long when you look back at it and you remember the absolute fall off bust, but the leash of value is very long. There were times where you could have sold Zach Wilson. You get these rookie quarterbacks that have like a good game, 2 good games back to back, and it's like, there it is. And he's a rookie, and I get this forever. Like, that value holds really strong.
I'll add on to what you said, too, of just, like, I think people squint and see, like, Will Levis. They're like, oh, like, because Will Levis had a little bit of bump, a little bit of insulation. People are like, oh, maybe. But this is a different caliber of prospect. That being said, why I think he's valued less is I don't think that's misplaced. He is a older quarterback. He took him a while to break out, and even when he did break out, it wasn't like he was so dominant that he still was very raw in what he was doing. And it was a weaker class. It wasn't like I think he would have been taken certainly not in the top 5 in last year's draft class in terms of quarterbacks and all of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me, I will just say a first round draft capital, you just got to give it time, because we see it every year. We saw it with Bo Nix last year, where people are like, don't draft Bo Nix. He sucks. We know he sucks. There's no way he's going to be good. He gets the first round draft capital. They got to make him try to work. And Cam Ward's going to at least get a real shot for 1 to 2 years. Now, will it be difference making? I don't know. But it's going to be hard to really get a lot of value for Cam Ward. And that's a reason why when we did our rookie mocks on the channel and such, like, I was like, I'd probably just rather take a different player. Like, until it gets to honestly like 105, 106 in rookie drafts, I just don't see Cam Ward having an exciting market unless if he like breaks out and shows that big rushing upside and all that stuff that like Bo Nix did.
Yeah, that's fair. I think yeah, I'm with it. I'm just thinking, I'm trying to like think about like, you think about Michael Penix last season, we saw for half a year, and think about where he's going in startups now. Like, I think it'd be hard
Bryce
for
Young is like the poor man's case of like what happens if it goes wrong scenario. And then like turns around, because he's someone that doesn't have a serious rushing upside, and it's kind of just like his arm and his processing ability, and that's already a bad place to start from a quarterback situation, right? Like, a lot of the top quarterbacks have that rushing floor of like 4 points a game or something. Bryce Young doesn't really have that. Bryce Young's undersized. Bryce Young has an okay arm, but not like the best arm in the league. I think his arm is underrated, but still, like, it's certainly not like a Josh Allen arm or anything. And it comes down to like, can he somehow be an outlier at his size? And I think that's probably the worst first round prospect, or Cam Ward's the worst one since then. Because if once things start going bad, people are going to be like, oh, well, Cam Ward's already older. He, bounced around to multiple teams. He was still, had, decision-making issues in Miami through a bunch of interceptions and such. So, like, there's going to be a bunch of those people that come out of the woodwork saying all these things. And that's kind of why I think he's, like, more depressed versus, like, a Caleb Williams, where it's like, even if he has a bad year, which he didn't have the best year, but people still treat him like a premium elite asset. You're not going to get that value.
Yeah. All right, John B here. I will 100% pay for a super chat to see Will do his college stand-up character. I will say the only, and it would have to be a different variation, because I don't think it's happening on the Tuesday night live streams. These are too sacred. These are trade questions and the occasional obscure good chat message. But potentially, On the Thursday night Best Ball and Dynasty Q&A underdog draft streams with yours truly, me, Will is talking, even though you can't see me. We're going to have guests on also in the future. But if you catch me on one of these nights, you know, a 30 pick reach on accident because I queued a player like I did last stream, we could definitely find ourselves after receiving a super chat pulling up Will's stand up that's in like 180p at most because it was filmed on my friend's like flip phone or something. But yeah, so that's all I'll say to that. Here we go. What are you guys thinking of Pearsall this year? Well, we'll let John P answer this one first.
I'm sorry. I will speak for everyone and say I will be there.
There we go.
That is what we need.
Thank you all. Looking forward to it. Yeah, we'll see you. It'll be interesting because there's maybe we'll do a BBM. We'll see. Maybe not. We'll see. I was saving them for the guests is what I was planning on doing, but I'm getting sad that I don't have any BBM tickets yet. All right. We saw that one from Ray. Okay, so here we had the thoughts on Pearsall. I'll let John P answer this one first. Pearsall's a good investment in all seriousness, though. That wide receiver room is up for grabs. He's got first round draft capital, looks pretty good second half of the season. The tough thing about Pearsall is like this feels like such a great opportunity, like Ayuk potential pup, and working through I think some hamstring injury stuff in camp, but obviously we're leaning into, you know, if he's healthy for the start of actual training camp and Ayuk's not fully practicing and is expected to be on pup, definitely good opportunity. I have been a big Juwan Jennings guy in best ball and startup drafts when he's going like 12th, 13th round. I've gotten him in startups. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on Pearsall? I get kind of the player takey stuff is so tough when it's so nebulous and it's like a 5th year wide receiver breakout in Juwan Jennings. Christian McCaffrey wasn't there all of last season. You know, there's still George Kittle there even when you have Ayuk on the pup. Yeah, any confident thoughts?
I am fairly confident. I think that he kind of has a window. The way I kind of see him is, and before, don't cringe right away. I see him kind of like a Jaden Reed,
Okay.
where like even if he doesn't like produce or has these random inconsistencies, he'll still hold somewhat of a value. And he's not valued like a Juwan Jennings, where it's like if Jennings isn't producing now, he's not worth anything.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have an extra leash. There's a little bit of insulation here because there is like a groundswell of people excited about Pearsall and seeing what he can do. So from that investment standpoint, I think he's pretty good if you can get him for a good price. And he does have the upside of like, can he become like, like a Ayuk replacement type value level player. That being said, I mean, I'm not the most excited about, as long as Kittle's there, putting up elite numbers, as long as Christian McCaffrey's up there, being able to dominate in, the slot and such. I'm not the most excited about 49ers wide receivers. We haven't really seen them put together a dominant, like true wide receiver one in that offense. It typically is spread the ball around, use a bunch of different positions, and not kind of have that consolidated target. So to me, like I like him, but I don't think, like, I think his peak is like peak Ayuk value. So I'm not gonna like overpay for that.
Yeah. Want to sneak in this one there. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you guys Thursday night, same time. Am I crazy for wanting to draft Shedeur early, mid, third rookie drafts? Well, I've been taking Shuck at the end of the second, so I don't know if I'm the one to address the crazy Shedeur in the mid third. I think
Shuck.
season. I think like when you look at the bets of like third round draft picks and you're getting into that mid late third, like I'm expecting those picks to flame out on most of my rosters. So I would never push back on somebody taking a pick that could add the upside of what if Shedeur starts, week 6 this season, the value gain you could possibly get if he has a good game for this Browns team. So I think that's fine. I don't know if you have a hard take on where Shedeur needs to go in rookie drafts versus, that mid third range.
Yeah, I mean, I think early third might be a little bit of a reach, but I also don't think it's like anything to like keep me up at night. I'm not like, oh my God, I could have had, like, here's an example, like you could have Dylan Sampson. Oh no, like I could have gotten Dylan Sampson.
The tight end stuff makes it a little interesting versus the early third aspect. Like if it's like a decent enough tight end premium, I do like taking those tight end bets just because they hold and carry weight and value.
Herrero. But yeah, I don't think you're missing out a ton, to be honest. It's just kind of like,
Yeah.
it's like however you feel. Like he has value. He probably will get some play time because I imagine the Browns and the Saints are in a battle for the worst team in the league. So I imagine they're going to be like, well, I mean, we're 2-14. Might as well throw him out there, see what he does. And someone will give you something for him.
Yeah. This is similar this is on the Ward point. We're kind of doing the rookie quarterback thing. It feels like Milroe has to be underrated. Never seen a more obvious. Darnold has 2 bad games and the value skyrockets play. I will say we've talked about it with Darnold specifically, where I don't necessarily think the Seahawks are like ready and wanting to get out on Darnold, but I think the way the contract was set up, there, is a very real chance that the max Darnold gets for the Seahawks is 2 seasons. So would not surprise me at all if Seahawks are 4-9, Darnold, like his wrist is sore from a hit he took in the last game, and we're seeing Milroe start. And that is a obvious huge value gain if he puts together a reasonable game with a quarterback of his rushing upside.
My one comment to really say here is like, what are your thoughts on Anthony Richardson? Because Milroe is like a worse Anthony Richardson. So I do believe Milroe could totally be someone that they slow ball, develop him, and then kind of have the idea of like, because I think Darnold has a 4-year deal, but I think they have it out after 2 years. And there's obviously injuries that could come into play, and the Seahawks are in a much better situation. Offensively, I would probably say maybe the offensive line wasn't great, but hopefully they address that.
Yeah, they had in the drafts with but yeah, I mean,
but I'm saying I do like rushing upside quarterback and Milroe. I'm always going to take those dart throws just because if they hit, they're going to be good. And especially for the price you can get, you're not having to pay Anthony Richardson prices in the first round. You're paying, like late second round type value. So to me, like, yeah, I think that's a pretty decent value for a player that like it's a similar bet to Shadur, right? Both of them are going to start probably sometime. And if they do, they're going to have a value bump. And I'm probably going to try to aggressively, shop them where I can.
It just popped in. What's up, Coop Cooper? Is Will talking in third person again? Will has not really been doing much third person talking. Just been hitting these chats, hitting these trade questions.
Getting called out.
You already know the answer. All right, here we go. Cam Rin here. No tight end premium. I was offered Kittle and a 28-second for Laporta. I have Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Njoku, and Gaston on my taxi. Y'all taking Kittle. Yeah, the no tight end premium does make it interesting. Also, already having Gibbs, Amon-Ra, and Njoku. I guess the Lions parts I don't care too much about, but Njoku specifically in no tight end premium. Would you just want to get the second and the tight end you feel better about for the season? I like the Gatson on my taxi. I'm also pretending that the wide receiver turn tight end is going to matter for fantasy. I'm with you. I will always buy into those.
That's a tough one. I would probably say so. With no tight end premium, you're even though Laporta has this value, you're probably not going to be able to extract that and put it into positions that most likely matter in your format.
I just don't see you getting a first for Laporta in a non-tight end premium at this point. I mean, maybe in season he has a string of like great games and he continues at the end of last year, like potentially, but I would also not scoff at Kittle in a second for a first. So like I'd much rather just take
and then
that.
Kittle you can just roll out and Kittle's going to be amazing, and then you also have a Njoku to back it up. And then I have a second I can use to patch a position that matters. I can go out and buy a Tony Pollard or someone like that that's going to have much higher WAR that impacts my actual roster. Because at the end of the day, I'm trying to win. I don't, I don't need the dynasty value.
Yeah. All right, Ray Rue is an A-Rich buyer. That's what your little blurb did. Be careful, Ray Rue.
We like to be hurt.
I do
We like to be hurt.
I do like buying. I will say A-Rich is a fun cheap buy on teams where honestly on both sides of like you don't need him to hit and the hit would be monumental. And I'm usually a fade the third QB guy, so maybe I need to buy some A-Rich. I feel like I need to address this one. Minotaur here. How do we feel about the Lions offense next season with the loss of Ben Johnson and Frank? I assume this is Rag now. Some serious regression. Yeah, I do think there's just naturally, I think a team, not even talking about the coordinator losses, teams that have like the touchdown rates and output that the Lions had last season, it's just natural for that to regress. And I think the offensive coordinator loss, Ragnow, obviously, I mean, top center in the league. So that's just got to be brutal. No way around it. But I've got faith in my boys. And I do think like people tend to do this like meathead Dan Campbell thing. I mean, he's like an offensive guy. I mean, he's been a tight ends coach, been around, offenses for, multiple teams for his entire coaching career. So I have faith in, yes, Ben Johnson. The people are like very excited for the Bears. I get it. I'm with it. But it's not like Ben Johnson like sucks all the scheme that the Lions have, been running and familiar with, and what Goff has been utilizing, and the passing games coordinator from the Broncos, who has some familiarity with the coaching staff. I've just got faith. There's some dogs down there in Detroit. That's my Lions fan blurb.
Minute.
All right, I can back away from that.
That's the Detroit Lions beat reporter for you.
Yeah. Expecting big things from Tim Patrick this season.
I needed big things in the playoffs, and he put up a 0.
You know who I needed big things from in the playoffs? How about Josh Reynolds? Hold on to a motherfucking ball in the Niners game. All right, we can move past that. Lucas Wright here traded Brandon Ayuk in a 27th third plus a 26th third for Marv in a 12/11 Superflex Titan Premium. Ooh, I am so down. Like, say what you will about Marv, I am so down to move off of wide receiver I think is good, but is coming off of a significant injury any day of the week. I love that move.
Hold on. Let's change the phrasing here. There is no way in hell I would like Ayuk in 2/3.
Yeah,
like,
what would it have
taken Marvin?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it had to be like Ayuk in a late first, I feel like.
Yeah, it's definitely not even close, and this is just a shout out to all the people who have, and it's just like a natural bet thing too. Like, I'm always willing, even this was like fair value. Yeah, like how you can at first.
Let's also give a shout out. Richardson, QB2. Is this becoming a Richardson chat? We got a lot of positive Anthony Richardson vibes here.
And I like the
I will say
flex able.
I like to have I know you hate QB3s. I like to have a third QB, and I have it like it's my incubator spot. And this is when, like, whenever anyone starts hating on a quarterback, like Anthony Richardson or Justin Fields, I'm like, okay, I'll just buy them for cheap.
Yeah.
And if they don't pan out, then I don't need them anyway. But if they do pan out, then I just flip them. I have no loyalty to that position. It was a first,
not a third.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
that changes things.
Now I will say, does that, even though I'm fine with Ayuk in a first for Marv or wide receivers in that range. I think that's totally fine, even in a 12/11. But does that change at all for you, given the QB room? Like, would you have held on that type of deal, just waiting to see what the offseason leading into the season looks like for a Kyler A-Rich QB room?
I think for me, like, the things I see is, like, in a vacuum, I think this is a fair deal. I'd probably still take the Marv side. When I look at this team, though, I get a little more concerned. Because, like, the biggest thing is there's no 26 or 27 first now.
Yeah.
So now this is basically, you made your bed and you're like, I have to lay in it 2 years and I can maybe move around. Like, you do have some flexibility. I can tear down off of a Malik probably and get a big throw in.
Yeah.
I could.
Puka, you should be able to. I mean, Puka London.
Yeah.
I mean, Marv
and Puka, maybe London.
Yeah.
Like, they're all valuable, but to me, like, I don't know if this team is a Marv away from being set for 2 years, right? It's not like the team we looked at earlier with Big Diaz, where it's like,
yeah,
we don't need, like, you have all these picks, you have all the, like, to me, like, you got to kind of get creative. Like, you're really saying I need Anthony Richardson to hit, otherwise I'm praying Joe Flacco's on the waivers or whatever. And so that to me is a little concerning. It's also a 12-team start 11, so it is a little deeper as well. So he's like, I have a couple flexible tight ends. I just get nervous that there's not a ton of value, that I may have to split a Malik or a Puka.
It's a sexy wide receiver room, though. Sorry, I had to say
it is, but you may have to split one of those players week 8 if Anthony Richardson's benched and Kyler gets injured, and you're like, well, like, I don't have picks and I don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
So it gets a little bit more difficult. Just thinking about like week 13 or whatever, when it's like, oh, it's a trade deadline and Jonathan Taylor's hurt. Now what do I do? You kind of have to hope that you have like a magic ball, whatever it's called, like one of those maybe some cards or something, like one of those astrology cards. It's like all of these players will not get hurt in the next 2 years. Like, that's what you should do, is go down to like your local boardwalk and just go into one of those like psychic tents and be like, cast a positive spell, maybe an Etsy witch. Apparently those are things. Get an Etsy witch and cast a spell that none of these players get hurt. That's some actionable advice right there.
My 4-year-old daughter performed a McDonald's seance earlier this week. Had a little like necklace she put down, and she was like tracing it and like praying to something, I don't know what, that she wanted McDonald's. I guess her parents is what she was praying to. We did get McDonald's. It worked. So
yeah, that's one way to do it. I will say the Kyler Marv stack is nice. That is nice. If I'm too invested in Kyler for it not to work.
Mm-hmm. And there's other ways to fill out, like, not having like seconds and picks to be able to maneuver makes it a little tough, but there's ways to get Geno, Stafford, Daniel Jones if you really want to.
Split somebody. You're going to have to split somebody or sell like an Olave for a second and a gross quarterback, or like you have to get creative. And it just means trading's going to be a lot harder. Yeah. It's just going to be harder to get some of those deals because you don't have picks.
Yeah.
It's the old going to the grocery store with oranges analogy.
Yeah. All right. Godspeed, John P. on this Ayuk, Tank Dell, and a second for MHJ inspired by that question. That is like the kind of offer that is either like getting insta declined and they're taking a screenshot and sending it to their friends like, what the hell is this, LMAO? Or you get a counter for a first.
Trade to a doctor? Because you can Tank Dell apparently can walk.
You gotta wait until the one positive Ayuk offseason report that's like expected to be ready for the start of the season and is like excited to prove the haters wrong, like something like that.
You need like Marvin Harrison Jr. to like be too yoked to fit into his jersey or something.
Not to create
and be like, well, like he can't fit his jersey on, so
having trouble running past DBs with his new.
I do think I'm slowly talking myself into Marv over these past couple weeks.
I think it's like it's the new price, and that's like the corniest. I will say it's like the thing I hate the most that I agree with when people are like, it's not players, it's values, but like that's just true, man. It's just like when Marv was like CD prices, it's like, nah, man, just like give me CD or like that range. Like, why would I pay up? Yeah. And it's like, oh, you get CD but a discount. It's like, nah, it's not really how that works. Like, I would love that to be true, but it is like still a projection. And that's kind of what we talked about with Hunter a little bit too. But when it's like behind Ladd McConkey prices, it's like, all right, like that's digestible.
Yeah, like now it's starting to, like I need a little bit more depression in his value, and then I might start getting a little aggressive because I do think he still had a decent rookie year. At a certain point, I'm not going to value him in the same tier as like Ayuk. If Ayuk is if you can toss a second and Tank Dell, who let me
know if that goes through, and I'll start sending it out.
Tank. A 2028 first round pick is going to play before Tank Dell probably does. So like, it's bleak. Like Tank Dell to me is like an instant cut. unless
and
you've got IR.
also, you would have said this pre NFL draft, and then they draft Jaden Higgins. They draft two receivers in the second.
Yeah, they
and
just
third.
hammer receivers, and those receivers played with each other too, so
And
they're
they
gonna
got
probably
Christian
have pretty
Kirk,
decent
too.
chemistry. Yeah, I mean, Tank Dell he's gonna become a CJ Stroud's like podcast host.
Dang. I can't wait to see the Tank Dell deals that happen the first season that he's practicing. All right, AJ Lee came out of a startup draft feeling middle of the pack. Would you trade Monty for 210 and a 26-second, or let the season play out a bit first? Oh, I'd be so down to do.
Yeah, you take that. You take that.
100%. Yeah, that's a great. I mean,
because Monty's worth a second straight up right now, I think.
Yeah, and like the thing with like Tootin is that kind of deal you could feel fine about if Tootin is nothing. Like those kind of like Monty being similar-ish enough to a second. And like I like Monty. Mm-hmm. I do think there's a world where like the Gibbs snap share and everything is looking more like 70% than the like 60 that we've seen with Monty over the past couple seasons. But and that's not even mentioning the Monty coming off the injury. So yeah,
I remember here's some Tootin propaganda for everyone out there. I remember listening, it was like JJ Zacharyson, late round QB. I think it was
love JJ.
It's one of the perspective episodes, which is like the long form series he does. But he was talking about how in the models, like in his model and such, Tootin and Caleb Johnson were only picked like 20 picks or so apart, and in their model, like the gap between them is not as far as like people should be valuing it as. Mm-hmm. With like Tootin has a similar range of outcome given his profile as Caleb Johnson and such. Not the same, but the gap isn't as much as people should be playing up. And I'm not gonna say overreact to something like that, but I certainly do think Tootin is in a class above a lot of these other guys. I mean, I would straight up take Tootin over Scadaboo. I think Tootin has a much better profile. But to me, like, this is not just getting like Woody Marks in a second. No hate to Woody Marks. I do love Woody Marks, but it's not just a throw-in running back that you hope sometimes will get some sort of production. It's a solid dart throw. It's not just a Hail Mary.
Yeah, and I need to find a better word for this. And I guess it's like some of the ADV is probably like a good representation of it. But I was going to talk about like the aura that like Dynasty assets carry. And it like
aura will connect with the youth. So that's probably, you need to go with that. Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah, I watch anime on my workouts. No, it is like there's a different feel for Tootin that I think like if him and like you said, like a Woody Marks or something had like similar stat lines in the first week, Tootin's 4 receptions for 40 yards.
Oh my god,
would look a lot.
That would rip.
Would look a lot more interesting than Woody Marks's 4 receptions for 40 yards, even though it would be the
Tootin
exact same stat line.
6 carries for like 38 yards and 4 catches for 40.
You get an ETN fumble,
and he's going in the late. I mean, people are steaming him up.
He's in that trade
that's
block.
All you need. Yeah, I mean, people are itching. He's someone like the combine. All of like people are itching for him to do something. Mm. And he has a fun name. It's the same. It's like Woody.
And I don't fun name. I don't want to miss this last question here. In the sentence, I left the question up. How do you usually treat year 1 in a dynasty, like fresh out of a startup? And I think like these kind of moves. So like, I guess this move specifically, you might look at your roster and you might feel weird about doing this kind of move because you drafted your startup thinking Monty is my RB2, or like I have him slotted in one of my lineup spots, whether it's RB2, flex, or whatever. And you're like, what if Tootin is like not worth starting? And I just like traded away a starting running back for a not starter. But the flexibility you get with that second round pick, like you could turn around and maybe it wouldn't be easy out of the startup to do these kind of moves because, teams do the same thing that you did where you draft players to fill out your lineups, but you should be able to trade that second for, some sort of point scoring running back if you felt the need to, and then be able to bank that Tootin. Or worst case scenario, you have a second round pick that I would treat similarly to Monty value wise heading into next season.
Yeah, I mean, I think deals like this are the savvy deals, right? I mean, I know like some people talk about like process trades and things like this, but it's like you're taking a slight tier down, but you pick up a second, and making deals like this, especially early on in a dynasty league, because like everyone has different ideas and everyone has different skill levels. You can find a lot of deals like this, and the next thing you know, you have all these picks, and kind of just all of a sudden the snowball starts rolling, and it's hard to once it starts rolling, it's hard to not have a good team.
Yeah. Been seeing the slightest baby blip of hype for Gunnar Helm lately. Worth the taxi slot, or is the path to relevancy just too much to overcome? Non-tight end premium, if that even matters here. It does for me. For players like Gunnar Helm, I'd much rather just grab I'd much rather have like 6th, 7th round running backs than like the Gunnar Helm range of tight ends.
And Larson.
Yeah, and that's just purely, I mean, it isn't necessarily just a scoring format, but pure hit rates of, running backs that get drafted in like the 4th, 5th, 6th versus tight ends that go in like the 3rd and 4th is maybe like percentages aren't great just because of the number of running backs that get drafted, but the chances that one of those hits actually matters for your non-tight end premium league. So I would not drop or move like JCM or Kyle Monangai or anything like that range of running backs for Gunnar Helm. You'd have to like be down in like, I mean, even like Ollie Gordon, like I would still want to hold on to like those running backs for sure versus a Gunnar Helm.
I mean, it also comes down to too, like tight ends is one of those positions where it's like how many teams are in your league. You probably only need to start that many tight ends per week as a league.
Yeah.
Gunnar Helm has got a long way to go to even be top 30 in tight ends in terms of being relevant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it's like I have plenty of time to get on the Gunnar. No need to use a roster spot.
All right, let us know if there's any questions here. I want to do a little closing here. A little Josh Downs rank. Would you rather? I'm gonna pull it up here on stream. We can close out on that. Just to line up with the thumbnail, trying to be better. Y'all the goats. You know what? We the goats, but also Uno reverse card. Y'all the goats. Talk about it every time. The streams, the Discord, everything would not be as enjoyable if we didn't have, not just you guys giving us questions to talk through on the stream. I mean, that is a big part of it, but also, we get great insights and conversations that come from, you guys in the chat. So let's pull this up. We see a Love Downs here. I have got on dynastydaddy.com. We'll pull up here. We have the what do you want to do? You want to do you see this? So we're on the player rankings tab here. You want to look at KTC or ADP Daddy? What would you like to reference? I'm also seeing it's funny.
We could do the. Are you in your Dynasty Daddy club? Yeah, you are. We could do the new Dynasty Daddy values, the beta values.
Close beta. Oh, are we
all
leaking?
The way down there. I hope you clicked the Jamar Chase.
Where you got Josh Downs or Jamar Chase, Jeremy? Where you going?
Go up. Those are the redraft ones.
Oh, there we go. All right, we got it. We got there. All right. Yeah, Josh Downs. Right here.
So yeah, currently.
And it's going to be some interesting conversation points because obviously this kind of Josh Down range, for sure, right behind him with Devontae Adams, Mike Evans. You get some of those like last few years of, guaranteed contending assets. But I think some like similar range of, solid production, but, potentially questionable upside for the future with, this range right here. Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk. Let's go Josh Downs or Jerry Jeudy off of last season, Browns for this year.
Honestly, I'm just more inclined to go with the Downs upside here. I just think Downs has never really had a good situation. I feel like Judy's had decent situations and hasn't really thrived when others have. And I feel like a lot of Judy's success came to Jameis Winston just being like, "Screw it, I'm throwing the ball. We'll see who catches it."
Yeah.
And I don't know if the broken situation that the Browns have will be able to replicate that type of production.
Yeah, I do like Judy a lot. I think probably, I mean, we could do a couple more of the would you rathers just in the similar range. But I think obviously like the tier of player Downs is and where he's valued in most markets versus, the coming up to like DK and Zay Flowers. And we were talking about a Devonta Smith tier as far as like pivots with, adding a second or seeing if you can do the, Downs. You get Downs in a first for this player in a second. Well, I'm gonna put the feet to the fire. Would you do that for Rome? You get Downs in a first for Rome in a second.
As I go by Rome.
Yeah, you're getting down. You're getting Downs and a first round pick for your Rome Odunze and a second round pick. And I'm really throwing you off guard because I threw you off guard with the segment to close out, and then I changed the segment. That's how I really keep
next
Jeremy
episode is on Rome.
No, I'm changing it. We're going cross positional.
I don't know. I mean, to me, I kind of feel like Rome. I probably take the Rome side, unless if that first has potential early upside.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like Rome has.
Those are similar Rome positive
basically.
Buzz.
Yeah, but the issue is like they're in different tiers. Mm-hmm. Like Rome and Downs' floor is kind of like maybe 15% below where they're at now.
Yeah.
Whereas like Rome's ceiling is, like Drake London plus.
Yeah.
If he goes crazy. And especially with like an actual
and sentiment wise for sure.
Yeah.
So not just production, but yeah.
The upside is just so much higher for him. That's probably why I would prefer that. Unless if you're talking about one of those like super early picks, then it's like, sure, I'll take a bet on Downs and that first and live with that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to do, we'll close out here. I think we already touched on, all right, the Devonta Smith. That was one that you would do that same deal, but swapped Devonta for Rome. So it's Devonta.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Devonta can move up much. I think it's just kind of is what it is, unless if like Jalen Hurts starts slinging the ball 50 times a game.
Yeah, the assumption is, AJ Brown is ending his career as an Eagle, and obviously with the, or at least for the foreseeable future, you're not getting a great offensive passing wide receiver one situation for Devonta Smith. And I mean, he's great for what he is, but in terms of the tier downs that we're talking about and the value ascension, I agree. Rome has that, something that Devonta doesn't. Are any of these names, like it just real quick, I'll throw it to you and we'll close there. Any of these names in this, I assume when you're starting to get to T. Higgins, Rice, Tedroa, you're taking that side ahead of Odunze. So I'll just kind of say, are any of these names that you would also kind of put together with Rome and T in that taking the second and player side in wide receiver specifically? So the names would be Igbuka, Worthy, DK, Flowers, any of those names that you would rather have the player in the second versus Downs in a first.
I think I'd probably cut it at Rome.
Yeah.
Like if I'm getting a first plus Downs, I'll just take the bet. But I think Rome up has that true elite upside that I think mid to late first is basically, I'd be lucky to have that upside with a lot of those players. But any of these, like, and I think one last point too is like, if I'm on a contending team and I have Downs, it's a perfect time to start like potentially looking to move Downs for an Adams or a Tyreek Hill or some of these older guys that are probably just going to score
in a similar range,
top 15 wide receiver numbers. Whereas like Downs, like probably won't, even if Downs has a good year by his standards, he's not going to be putting up Tyreek Hill numbers.
Yeah. It is hard to envision that with, you just take a look at like projections for the Colts for the season, even if it's, the rosiest case scenario for the passing offense being Daniel Jones, it gets a little sketch. And you get the Tyler Warren edition too, who I'm not necessarily worried about being like a target hog or anything, but like it's hard to hear the press conferences, think about the draft capital, and not assume that, Steichen and Ballard and the offense doesn't want to give him, a couple scheme touches a game in some capacity. But I'm with it. I think that was a good on brand, on thumbnail brand breakdown to end the stream. Appreciate you all being in here. I'll pull this up real quick before I let Jeremy do the Dynasty Daddy good night kisses. But Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, we'll see you here back on the channel for the best ball draft. This is episode 4. That's why we got the DAC number 4 there. That's how I'm doing them. But yeah, you any closing remarks?
Well, I mean, as always, I appreciate everyone joining the chat. Makes them so much more enjoyable, and we're starting to get more numbers. So I'm excited as the season goes to see the chat explode, and we'll miss even more messages from the cutoff. But
now we're getting better. It'll be like
to improve our.
It's I don't even know what the graph would look like, but it's like perfectly linear of as we get better as answering the chat questions, more people are coming and we're able to answer those more questions. I'm confident.
Yeah, we'll have to really live up to the Lightning name. But I do appreciate everyone joining our stream, sticking around this long, supporting our channel. We're trying to grow it and make it a much more enjoyable, bigger channel that we can all have fun with. But obviously, check out the site. Any MLB fans out there did release an MLB trivia game today. Silent dropped that, but that's coming. I'll do an announcement later on. And then obviously exciting stuff with the Dynasty Daddy trade values and things like that. So
and anyone who isn't,
if you're interested about that, check out the Discord. It's the best place to stay up to date on all those things.
Definitely. We had a suggestion. I won't make you answer the suggestion about unlocking managers in the trade calc. It always refreshes the managers midway through. I wanted to go to the more fun. I always feel bad when I like throw like like bugs or suggestion. Not that that's like a bad one or anything, but like when we get
I appreciate the feedback. It's on my list.
Yeah, I just like we'll throw it up and be like, Jeremy, what do you have to say about this? But yeah, this daily trivia. If you guys aren't familiar on the site here, this MLB Wordle. We'll have to maybe we'll close out the streams doing some of these sometimes. We like close out with a NFL Wordle or something.
Yeah, do an NFL one. We're still working out the kinks. I think the MLB one, it was a relief pitcher today. My MLB friends were like, I don't even know who that is. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know baseball, so I need to update the how it selects players. But
awesome. We'll appreciate you all. Like, sub, come back next Tuesday or this upcoming Thursday. And also stay tuned with the channel. If you guys are not, this will show the thumbnail for the best ball stream this Thursday if you guys want to check that out, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Also the vid that's been out for a minute here if you haven't watched it, the players to buy now. And we've got another one that Will is finally wrapping up editing on that hopefully we'll have out by this weekend.
I'm looking forward to it.
Bang bang. Me too. All right, appreciate you all. Bang. Much love. See you Thursday and or Tuesday. Peace out.
Peace out.